What's up, y'all? It's your boy Aniki coming at you with another episode of Church of MHA Season 5, Episode 7, My Hero Academia, Chapter 419, live reaction. So, I'm gonna be honest with y'all and let you know. I did face check a spoiler from an account that I have seen. I think it was an account I saw post fake JJK spoilers before, so I didn't think anything of it. But I'm pretty sure it was legit, based off the way people were telling me to stay offline after I ran into it. So almost assuredly that one was legit because I'm gonna tell you right now, if it is, it's some stuff we've been talking about for a while. So we're gonna see what happens when we get into it. Uh yes, MK the baby was first. J. Michael Holmes coming in saying it's a goated chapter with Devontae Kemp saying, "What's up? What up, y'all? What up, y'all? Skibbity dibbity." Hey, by the way, somebody in the one of the young folks in the chat, if I got any young folks, because I know my audience skews like 22 plus. Uh, so if I got any of the younger folks, what does skibbity mean? Like we've officially, I guess I don't know if it's like I turned 31 and I just disconnected from the youth, but I don't know what skibbity means. I see it brought up sometimes. Like Riz made sense to me, but skibbity, I don't know what the skibbity is. What is skibbity? Uh, so if somebody can tell me what the skibbity is, that'd be appreciated. Um, I just want to know what I'm seeing people say because oh, you want some popcorn? Look at you, little baby. All right, let me post this in the Discord. All right. Okay, so skibbity is nonsense. Okay, cool. I'm just glad to know that it is in fact nonsense. Like just be saying skibbity, and I'm like, what you mean skibbity? What does that mean? All right. First jump series of the day. Let's go, MHA. All right. Starting off with the color page. Let's see. Color page, all the votes. Dobby making top 10, but not Shigaraki is kind of impressive to me. But Hawks, is it respectful or disrespectful that Horikoshi gave Hawks a jetpack? Like, where are we leaning here? Like, I guess since it's like an AU with drag, because like I feel like if it's an AU with dragons, he could have just had dragon wings, but he doesn't. Man, wait, Thomas, you know about Skibbity? Okay, you can teach me about it later if there's something extra to it. All right, and then we see AFO busted in there. All for One's vestiges. He, All for One gets some of the most horrifying uh panels. Izuku Midoriya, how dare you destroy my one for all, my Yoichi. Yet Tenko's spiritual defeat here in his subconscious realm has allowed my own consciousness to claw back control. Foolish Tenko Shimura, such a pure, credulous superego, a soft simpleton unable to relinquish his freakiness life, benefiting from my guidance every step of the way, yet amounting to nothing. Hold on, I gotta move this mic. I accidentally put it in a spot that's and then we see as Shigaraki is crumbling. I don't get what you're talking about, Master. As I mentioned, not a single one of your choices has been your own. I did choose. I made those decisions. Yes, I had to make you think that, or else your strength of will would have been stunted. It was crucial to twist around your illusion of free will. Daigoro Banjo, aka Lariat. in Tayutai, aka Smoke Eater. My encounters with those to inform me that stealing back One for All would require a strength of will greater than the wielder's own. While All Might had me on the defensive, I conducted my search for a soul who could someday grind away at his spiritual fortitude. It was a quest for that most powerful of emotions, one born from the heart of suppression, of the id, that primordial urge. Yes, I sought a seeded fertile for hatred to grow, a seedbed for fertile for hatred to grow. What's there to think about? These days, heroes never show up to offer aid when they're actually needed. Children need siblings because nobody else will help them out. The daughter, his firstborn, was already too far along, you see. I couldn't afford to be caught, so I never quite overstepped. Just a few nudges from the shadows. What the hell? I removed a yet unknown quirk factor passed down by your parents. I encouraged your father's strict ways. I gave you something to aspire to. Hello there, you must be Mr. Shimura's son, no? This road's a dangerous one, with all the traffic, and I bided my time. Why don't you take my hand? Okay, so this is weird. Oh. Okay, so first off, we know that he definitely had a face changing quirk. It was sourced from a quirk at one of the good doctor's facilities. We stripped away half of it, the ability to reverse its effects, leaving an incomplete subpar copy engineered solely to promote destruction. The very quirk I granted you, you mean, indeed, the tragedy, the ordeals, the rejection, the validation, all granted by me. What? All that you are. You speak of your unwavering heart? Nonsense. For shame. His spirit is now mine to delete. I was saving this last resort until after he'd stolen One for All, but that's no longer in the cards. Be gone from my body. And then we see him yelling All for One. Holy shit. Yoichi is gone. My intermediate goal is foiled. Oh, a lingering note. Be silent. And we see the little hand grows and covers his mouth like the old days. The spiritual damage has taken its toll on the flesh. Decay. His rage and hatred are no more. Are you dead yet, boy? The vessel I spent years searching for and cultivating is ruined. As is my brother, all that remains is all for one. I'll move on to my hollow, immaterial final goal. That is to say, the world. I won't let you. Ooh, yeesh. All right, hold up. So this is the image that I got boiled on, and yet hitting it the way it was done is just brilliant. Like this is one of the best page turns in the entire series because you just see Deku saying "I won't let you," and then he just collapses, and then boom, he's a stumpy boy. Neither of us emerged unscathed. I see. Not done yet. Not yet. Loss engenders strength. That's a narrative trope I intend to establish. Such a pitiful end was inevitable for a child with nothing to lose in the first place. Hold on, Genie. Hold on, Genie. The Horikushi is on the table right now. Now, what you mean, fucking Harris? Slept with your mama. I apologize. That was at the Viz website, by the way, not Genie. I was talking. All right, hold on. Sarah comes out the cut, wrapping AFO up. We see the danger sense going off, so he still has that quirk. Sarah, hold on. This type is a little small. Trivial. Negligible of that Midoriya's presence obscured the warning. Midoriya needs some saving, pal. And then we got Sugar Rush and Tailman pulling up to throw hands with All for One. Tornado Tail Dance, Sugar Knuckle. You know, I think this is the first name attack we got from fucking Sugar Rush, the whole series. Sarah, Ojiro, Sato, you're all still alive. Midoriya, I'm sorry for the delay. And then we get the go. What? What's my Princess Fussy Butt mad about? Saizawa, we get excited when we see Eraserhead. He got a racer head, but he doesn't have erasers on his head. Ooh, you flying, Genie? Yeah. That's a daughter. All right. All right. Hold up. So, first off, hold up. Let me get the invite out real quick. Let me summon the boys. We gotta summon the boys, Genie. Yeah, the boys. We gotta summon them. Trying to summon the boys with me? Yeah, Genie, we summoning the boys. Don't worry. Yeah. Okay, so we put in one of the signals for the boys. Now we gotta go to Twitter and send the other signal for the boys. Okay? Yeah, we summoning the boys.
I've
Yeah.
never in my life been so mad at a mangaka
Well,
ever.
I think that's reasonable to feel that way, but it's also
He's,
necessary to go down like this.
bro, he ripped my son's arms from him. He stole it, just like All for One stole his original quirk.
Hold on.
Or Tenko's original quirk.
Little baby.
Oh. Also, do I sound good?
Yeah, yeah, you're good. You're good. You're coming through
Okay,
good.
okay. I'm in a different location than usual, so
Also, I gotta make a phone call. I'm gonna make it on air.
mm-hmm.
This motherfucker better pick up too. What's up, knucklehead? Yeah. Where you at? Shoot. Sound like you got some time to put some earbuds in. Yeah, so I think you should put some your AirPods, your earbuds, your Ross headset, whatever you gotta do, and slap that on. And check the Discord, because I already sent you the link, and get on here. All right?
Oh,
All right, bet.
We have a mysterious joiner.
No, you got me coming.
Oh, okay, okay.
Popcorn. Yummy, yummy popcorn. All right, so first off, okay.
Let me check.
So
Check.
so I don't give a fuck what Hori said previously.
Mm-hmm.
I want okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So because like people brought up Eri. Right here, right now, we have plausible. Look, if there was ever a time for Eri to like figure some shit out a little better with her quirk, like you telling me you ain't even got like just like an hour of juice, Eri? Hook my boy up. Hook my boy up.
We're not sending the child into war.
Because we because now that Aizawa, which we're about to get a flashback, a backpedal, a time travel, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, go learn about the good timing,
Mm-hmm.
rhyming nonsense. We're gonna
Mm-hmm.
go back and we're gonna see how Eraserhead won over the Hawk and Kurogiri. Yeah. How Eraserhead did his thing and is once again about to clutch up another war. Yeah, Eraserhead is goaded. You're right, Genie.
Listen, unless they give Eri like the apple juice equivalent of like energy, right? Just energy in the apple juice carton.
Fuck out of
I
here,
don't
cyber
know.
anime glitches. Why you lying up? Why you lying unprovoked in my live streams? Why you doing that? That's disrespectful. That's disrespectful. Don't disrespect me, bro. That's just a lie. It was good, but that's a lie. Um,
I still need to read the officials for that.
okay.
So
So
I just gotta say that going spoiler free is probably the best decision I've ever made with the series because this chapter, okay, it's amazing to me that Horikoshi did the one thing I did not want to happen, but did it in a way that I actually find kind of satisfying.
I'm the
yeah, and
opposite.
okay,
I can't
okay,
stand this, but I do find the
okay.
reveal kind of cool. I just hate it overall.
I did not want him to do the oh yeah, like I did give you decay. I
Hmm.
hated that. But because I still think it's like a little inconsistent with what we were shown. But Overhaul is older than Shigaraki by about 3 or 4 years.
No, about 6 or 7, I'm pretty sure, because he's 28 or something like that, and Shigaraki's like what, 21, 22?
20 to 21, I think.
Yeah, so around
Let me
that, like he's
let me
very
pull
older.
up the
I,
ages again because I thought Overhaul was only like 3 or 4 years older. Let me see.
I don't
I
think
know.
so.
I'm pretty sure that Garaki called Shigaraki 20 years old in MVA.
Yeah. Oh no, he is older. Okay.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's plenty. That's old enough for him to have been his quirk definitely developed. So because of the way it was shown, it now makes like the allergy make sense. And the theory doesn't isn't what people thought it was exactly,
Yeah, I was not expecting the time to overhaul at all.
because what this shows us is that um he met him as an infant. Like he was tampering with him as a baby.
Hmm.
Yeah, to snatch the
Um
quirk factor, or at least tamper with it. So,
so
like, as a question, because currently I don't know how it works. The itching itself, is that from the lack of a quirk?
so what I think this is actually telling us is that what we saw wasn't the first time that he brought Shigaraki home.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had done it multiple times. And that's so like Shigaraki, just like Aoyama, was basically his body was rejecting the quirk.
Mm-hmm.
So from that standpoint, I'm like, all right, cool. The fact that the decay is actually just straight up an incomplete quirk, um, that also makes it make sense that it was so like hard on his body.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I wonder about is if it's true or not, though. Like, it should be true based off like where we are in the story, like an extra, spin just to just like have it be like that wasn't actually what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But that should, but so like I thought I would hate the idea of him being given decay a lot more than I actually did here, mostly because of it ties in with the fact that everybody was wondering if Overhaul was actually at one of those facilities, which means that when we see Overhaul on the street, there's a chance,
That's after Dobby's fire, Toya's fire.
right? Because,
Mm.
but I'm trying to think, because like Shoto was a baby when that happened, and Dobby's fire, I could have sworn he was like 13 when that happened, and Tenko was supposed to be like 10, but I mean like it could have been a little because he's older
No,
than both of them. Hold on.
Show Toya was 13 when the Sakoto peak happened, and then he was in a coma for about 3 years.
Yeah. So yeah, no, Overhaul would have been too old.
Yeah.
So that just means Overhaul himself at some point snuck out or got out.
Yo, what are we talking about? Just got here, baby.
The quirk and how
Oh, decay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean honest, I still don't like the quirk reveal simply
I
because I
like
feel like All For One or Hori could have gone across All For One's points and how he tampers with Toya without compromising the quirk. I feel like
yeah, I don't think it's a necessary change. I think it's
Mhm.
better than I thought it was gonna be, which in of
Mhm.
itself is a bit of a relief. Because I still want to know why he chose or thought that Tenko had this potential. And I still want some clarification on what he said or why he lied to Ujiko then. Because that's such a
I
and
told
I'm
Thomas this. I think that's just a result of the ending being changed. Because I said to Thomas, like, Horikoshi revealed in movie two that the ending wasn't supposed to like that was still supposed to be the original ending in movie two. And
yeah.
then I said, well, if we go by that logic, then maybe in Camino, that was part of the original plan was like a lot of the stuff was true at that time, but because of the ending changing, and he said himself, Endeavor was supposed to live in PL4, but he changed that. But maybe it's just like a lot of changes happening in the second course for the new ending that he found out he wanted to do
Mhm.
might have just been a result of this.
Because yeah, that's kind of where it almost has to be that. Because like and I've said before, like the one thing like as much as people are like, I don't like how evolved All For One is, or I don't like this or that, like my biggest issue with All For One is always that to me, he got retconned.
Yeah.
And to me, this is like a furthering of that. So that
Mhm.
is probably my number one issue with the series as a whole. Actually, no, it is. It is without question my number one critique of My Hero Academia now is that I don't like the retconning that influences the path for Shigaraki and All For One.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't like. I like the story beats themselves. Like some of these story beats, they're still fun. They're still exciting. They still like follow the rule of cool and all that other stuff, and they give you like an enjoyable like experience. But I do not like Yuji's hit multiple black fascists before. That ain't nothing, bro. Uh, but also, interestingly enough, I was having like a random debate with somebody online about how um and then I realized like they said that Shigaraki had no character development, and then I was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna block this person because they don't actually know what anything means. So what's the point of talking to somebody? Let me save myself some brain power here. But
Mhm.
this further strengthens like that parallel that was built up in the early stages where, especially during Overhaul arc, where it was like, oh, Shigaraki, like Overhaul should have been the one that was, uh, the main villain of the
Oh.
series, or instead
Uh-oh.
of Shigaraki. Yeah, that was where my phone call was.
Oh, so I didn't even need to. Okay, that's good. Let's go.
Yeah, no, I had a feeling that this is who you were calling.
Yeah, I was like,
Just
maybe I
when I
should
saw the
read.
picture log, and I was like, oh boy, here it comes. Here it
Those are the
comes.
big guns, man.
If
No.
you're wondering what the call was referring to, the only reason I am here is because my brother-in-law, also my boss, and y'all father has summoned me here. But what you are about to be shocked for the first time you may hear out my mouth to a lot of y'all, I am not fucking pleased. And no, I'm not finna put on no fucking front. I said what I said last week. I'm standing by what the fuck I said last week to this week. What did Coyote and Thomas ask me? East, if it's really true that All For One end up giving Shigaraki the K, how would you feel? What did I say? Ass. What do I stand by? Ass. Will I go on a fucking whole tangent at this current exact time because my time is limited? Yes, I will, because I am fucking upset because you have retcon and there's no ifs, ands, buts, or anything anybody can debate about that because the lies that you have told us and that your boy is born twisted, this, that, and the other, everything that you have laid out, this entire growth for this entire journey, and now you slide it back like this. Even if you were to somehow magically bring Shigaraki back, which probably gonna happen, whatever the case may be, it is the fact is the hello everybody in the chat. The fact does not matter. Do you know why? Because you have hold this nigga throughout basically the end of PLF war through the entire final act. This nigga came back for literally 2 seconds on his own, not Melvin Shigaraki. Had a little moment. After that, he was tangling, playing booty tag, tickle foot with Deku and Arrow. Let it slide. Cause I said once these two niggas start boxing, nobody else needs to be around because they can't hang with him, which was shown. Then after that, you had to do the little vestige test. Okay, you know what? They're gonna lock in. Shigaraki not their hole yet. But then even then, you had Shigaraki go 2-3 chapters, little raw shit. Then you had Deku basically running the thing up, pulling plays on Shigaraki, tricking him, getting the upper hand, knocking off his hand every 2 seconds. And then Deku was just Deku. It wasn't a balance of back and forth. So at that point, you set up Shigaraki. I could tell this is all retcon. Even if you do try to bring him back for a split second, it's still not gonna make up for all the lost time that we had. Because now in this, I don't even know how the fuck, if you bring Shigaraki back, what the fuck you gonna do is have him dust off one or they have them have an internal battle because Deku has the fucking arms.
Oh,
even if you were to bring fucking old girl back and fucking what's her name, Eric fucking and recharge some shit, it's just like I wouldn't even give a fuck if you did. It's whatever at this case at this point, but it's like, what the fuck? It's like I don't understand why this nigga's worse than General Grievous. And if you ever watch Clone Wars, that's the biggest cockroach I've ever seen in my fucking life. I've never seen a nigga talk so much shit, flex so much shit, and run away that many times, and still keep coming back. And yeah, Karen baby, it's like Shigaraki came and talk shit just to get hold and look foolish. I mean, of course, he probably, if he comes back, find a villain. But it's like, at this time, bro, we already wasted this much time at this point. Like, what all can you really do other than give Shigaraki one little final moment? Like, all right, you might have did this, but you know what? These are my allies. These are my friends. These are my niggas. And you dust that nigga off one at last time. And then that's like, all right. But you could have just did that preemptively ahead of time and just kept us throughout the final battle. But you decided to do this. And I'm not too sure why you retcon a lot of this shit. I don't understand what the point was.
Mm-hmm.
I truly don't understand. I'm really confused at that point. Because there's a lot of things I let slide. As you bit off more than you could chew. A lot of people getting hold in the final arc. That's not up for debate. A lot of niggas that was not no real fights. Some niggas we just came back and they just did their final shit. Some of these other villains, I understand they wasn't supposed to be that last, but they should have got a real fight, like some overhaul, like Kirishima and Rappa versus them niggas. Like they should have actually got a name, quirk box, a little bit of a fight, and then the kids got their shine. But some of the niggas just got like tapped out in a split second, and some niggas just got like one chapter, and they got their final move on the other person they've been fighting in the background for how many chapters. And I was like, all right, you bit off more you could chew, all this other shit, letting shit slide, the Bakugo shit, we got overhyped. All right, we misjudged because you did this, and then you overstepped here, and you talked to the paramedic, that shit. All right, you know what? I chalked it up to, you was drunk, you kissed somebody, you know what? It was an accident, but you came clean, confess to me, type shit. But this right here, there are things. Nah. There are lines you do not cross. And that line you crossed. What was the point of 9 at this point? What was the point of all these niggas? Then we come back and find out later on he had other vessels, but Shigaraki was supposed to be that nigga. You got the vessel just hopping this nigga up 2 seconds ago. Yo, this nigga's will is crazy. It's unstoppable. This nigga, he different. I wouldn't do it. We need to give him this core. And now, Deku, you just basically fucked that nigga over in a sense. Doing all this saving shit, you just fucked that nigga over. You just fucked everybody over at this point.
So here's my question for you. Do you feel like Horikoshi partially did this to be like, no, sometimes you just need to kill a nigga?
I mean, partially, I guess, but that still doesn't accept the fact because at the same time, it's like, I've been said, everybody said, but I talked to this my turns, and we talked about last week on stream. When it came to, it's about the journey and destination, right? There's reason to reread, right? Because you like the journey up until the point. Do we reread a whole? How many of y'all read an arc or a whole series? Like when you want to read your arc, you want to relive a moment, right? But when you want to experience everything over again, and you say I would give anything to feel like this the first time I felt, you reread the entire journey. Well, the entire reason we had debates on whether there should be a time skip or not was because people were enjoying the increments of the characters and the kids growing here and there. Nobody else gave a fuck about any of the series having a big time skip. It's just this series because we were watching them grow the increments in their journey. And as they grow, that's why the whole no part two was such a big thing with this series. Because we want to see them grow bit by bit. Now skip to the third year, it was like a back and forth type shit. You feel me? So it's like, all right, I just watched this entire journey of this nigga, these villains, all this shit. Like, we watched all this shit. I watched you grow, this, that, and other. You put stocks into this nigga. You told me this nigga was different than anybody else. Even if you just wanted this nigga's body, this nigga was like, I mean, I talked this about Charms plenty of times. If you wanted Shigaraki to have just be like this character and this worked perfectly and say he was a pawn, you could have had him acknowledge he was a pawn, could have had him be an AFO dick rider and be like, all for my king, all for you. Still had his hate, still had his hatred, and just gave it up to him. Why make him his own character, give him his own agency, his own allies, his own friends? Even last chapter, you dug back now. You know what? Even all my hatred, everything go, I still need to be a hero for my niggas. Stand down that business. And then it's like, all right, get out of here, little nigga. That was cute and all, but like, if you was gonna do that to the nigga, you should just did that since way back in the cut. Mm-hmm. And the movie, also the movie's canon. What was the point of fucking Shigaraki dusting 9? Like, yeah, nigga, you thought you was the one, but it's really me. And I can't believe you done this. Like, I don't see how this character assassination for Tamura. Like, he did still make his choice. Like, off one talking extra shit. It's like off one is really literal, and I'm thinking like, oh my god, this was never true. Shigaraki's truly a victim. They're like, no. Shigaraki still made his fucking choices. You just gave him the quirk and you egged some shit on, but he still in the day made choices, right? Like, even as he got to adulthood, this and another. The issue is what you did with the characters, that the way you handle him at the end. Really hoeing him. And it's the hoeing that he got the quirk for this nigga, which was all the allegations we ever beat.
Mm-hmm.
All the allegations we beat, the future shit, Eric coming back doing this shit, all the allegations we beat over time. And Dad for one, and this is where you hoe us? Because this was unnecessary. It really was. You could just have to think like, like we didn't really need that. You could just be like, all right, this shit weakened. Now I got you. I got boogeyman type shit. But you didn't need to do that. Like,
So, as a question for you, East, and I guess everyone, do you think do you think this is the last time we'll see Shigaraki? Because obviously, like Tenko's still there.
No.
I don't think it's the last time, but at the same time, even if you do bring him back, compare All for One and Melvin screen time, which if you talk to Melvin, it goes more so to All for One. Like if we talk of Vegeta, Gogeta, right?
Yes.
You're not talking more so Goku or Vegeta or Gotenks. It's literally a fusion of the two niggas side by side. When we talk Melvin, more so niggas leaning towards All for One and shit, more so because then they go back kanji this, kanji that, All for One talks like this, and you didn't like. It's too much of a fucking head case that I would have to. We had to literally debate screen time, do mathematics and gymnastics just to be like, all right, this is obviously All for One more so than this, like this and the other. Meanwhile, if you have two protagonists on each side, which is the good side, the bad side, going up their arcs and this, that, and the other, Deku at his final stretch, from the war always his final stretch, did his thing, time and time again. Shigaraki from the war, when All for One jumped into his body, all the way to the final stretch, yeah, here and there, sprinkles of a bit. More so All for One than anything. And then All for One had his own time to give it with all them niggas he fought at Gunga. Then he primed All for One back, ran a gauntlet, beat everybody ass, smacked it down with All for One, with All Might, and then battled with Bakugo and got beat. Then he ran it back again. And it's like, what did Shigaraki have compared to All for One? And it was like, if you would have gave that to Shigaraki and then had All for One hold this nigga like this, a little bit more different, a little bit less egregious, or I could have dealt with it better, or we could have dealt with it better. But the fact that you hold this nigga at this much to this extent, even if he does come back, it's like, all right, bro. I didn't see Shigaraki going too crazy like that. All he did was like spaz on Deku just a split second, then Deku ran the rest of the fight. And then he got taken down very tragically, and not even like the good type of tragic either. So it's like, all right, even if you do come back, it's like, what you trying to make up for? Like, does what you come back with can equate to what you trying to make up for? Because now you have to make up for what we lost, which is lost time. And what can't you? What's the one thing you can't get back? Time. Because our chapters are coming to their close. This is the end, right? This final phase should have been them Shiggy locked in. They acknowledge each other, and it's like, listen, like Anki said, sometimes you just gotta kill a nigga. And Shigaraki just made you acknowledge that, like, I'm gonna stand on business. I'm sorry, that's what it is. But at this point, it's like,
So the one thing that I would say is that as far as the wills, even with All for One getting control this chapter, from what I could tell, there's still a blatant sign that Shigaraki has a stronger will than him. And it's in the most like blatant way, because he goes, oh, like a lingering note, and then the hand comes out to cover his
Yeah, he
eye.
muscled himself.
And like when Shigaraki ripped the All for One vestige apart and popped out, All for One never did anything on this level. So we know that as far as like control of the body, or like whose will can influence the body and how it presents itself, Shigaraki is showing us here that he still has a higher like feet level. And effectively what's actually happening here isn't even that like, oh, like he lost the battle of his subconscious. Like, sure, he like had to deal with the fact that Deku was willing to like sacrifice his arms and other stuff, and realized that like, yeah, no, there were people out there who would have looked out for me. And like what AFO did does fuck with his confidence. But even in a state that weakened, he still can, muzzle Shigaraki or All for One. What this is a case of Shigaraki having to recoup with what the fuck, everything he just found out and dealt with. He's just taking a couple seconds to process this, and then AFO's fucked.
Not only that,
Yeah,
but like when you look at this chapter,
Oh, AFO is absolutely the most desperate person on that battlefield right now. He did not want to use that card. Like he literally says, "This I was saving this for after, but fuck it. I did not have a choice. Yup, get out of there."
not only that, but when you look at what All for One has been saying, he did not want it to turn out this way because he lost Yoichi. Like his will isn't as strong
Oh,
as Shigaraki's.
dude,
like this is not what he wanted.
I love that bit of dialogue so much because look, AFO at this point has been like an absolute giggling clown and he's been irritating people. Yes, that's fake. He forces that shit. He does it because it's a mask and it hides how empty and hollow he actually feels on the inside. So when he talks about ruling the world, it's not so much the actual domination part that excites him. It's that he'd get to do it with Yoichi and it would be like a continuous reenactment of the comics they read. That's what excited him. But Yoichi's gone, and I'm kind of speculating now. There's a lot of things that can happen now. I think we were wondering like, okay, when exactly is this going to end? Is it going to be like in like 15 or 20 chapters? I think we're in for 20 plus because he kind of just throws this last curveball in here. And you got obviously you got to deal with AFO. You need to have a final send off with Tenko. You need a final send off for the Vestiges. We didn't really get that. And also there's the possibility of more people stepping out of that portal. That's very
Inevitably.
I mean, the person I jumped to seeing Aizawa come out, I was like, you know what? I think the person who's coming next or coming soon is going to be Shinso. Because Shinso is not only able to trigger the vestige realm, like and trigger that kind of stuff, he is also tied with Aizawa, right? Like he is Aizawa's apprentice, so it makes sense for him to kind of come here. And oh man, Horikoshi. When I read the leaks, I was shocked. Like I suspected some of this. There was no hiding from it this week. Like I just embraced it. Um, but I remember messaging Aniki and I'm like, dude, just do not look at your feed. Do not look at any of this.
Yeah, man, the spoilers attacked out of nowhere. It was like 12 p, not 12 p.m., 12
It was
a.m.
the
when they came out,
afternoon, man. Like it was crazy.
Exactly.
I was coming back from work. I'm like, all right. I get home. I look at my phone and it's just like everybody's going like, what? And
Bro, Sam dropped the popularity poll, and underneath his tweet was like someone saying, "Oh, the leaks are out." So I click into it, and the first thing I saw, not even spoiler tag, was Deku's arms. And I've
oh,
never been so mad at Twitter in my life. No
So
one
the
was
thing
tagging
is,
their
I
tweets.
mean,
that image of Deku with his arms, I think it was the person Nandry who regularly draws fake JJK panels.
oh, he
Yeah.
doesn't, not
They
just
posted
JJK.
it.
MHA as well.
So I just
MHA.
thought it was fake. And then I like
No.
stumbled on it again later and I was like, oh. No, okay, so what happened was is that I think Nandry posted it and I thought it was fake. And then I actually got spoiled. Like it was posted on TikTok too. Like
Oh my
there
God.
were people who were dropping TikToks that opened with the shot of Deku with no arms.
You know, I felt like that shit was gonna be on TikTok too. The way niggas was reacting and everything, and I was like, nah. I feel like this shit gonna be somewhere that it shouldn't be.
No,
People
every
were
MHA video has like, oh, Deku doesn't have arms anymore. Crying emoji, crying emoji. Like they're everywhere. Everywhere.
I haven't seen MHA spoilers like trigger this much of a reaction in like in a while. I gotta be
That's
honest.
Barker, though.
Yeah, man.
Probably
I
since
never see it on
2020.
my Twitter, and it just popped out, and where I'm like, how the fuck did it get on here? Why is it on here?
Definitely since Bakugo, it was the same level of reaction.
I was thinking of Dobby's dance, but
Dobby's dance too. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Um, I think, man, there's so many, oh, there's so many variables here. Like,
Oh, I just
People
want
are
to say,
people
Polka, I
are
really
saying
enjoyed
that
your
like
tweets on the chapter.
people are saying that like, oh well,
Mhm.
Deku might still have base one for all. I think that's gone. I think he's quirkless. So
If
So
he's
let me
quirkless, that's an interesting way
let,
for the rest of the fight.
let me ask this. Regardless whether this nigga's quirkless or not, he got no arms.
I already
All
have a
right,
solution to that, man.
all right,
Pro
but let's say
hero
like,
Kisaki.
yeah, I like to hear it because he got no fucker. Whether he had the quirk or not, they were barely keeping up with each other when he had two arms and all the quirks. So a nigga with no arms and what just a base.
Hang on. You really say Deku, like Izuku Midoriya, who in the Force training arc was running around like going place to place with no arm usage.
He's
Would
got shoot
fight-
style for a
would-
reason,
dude, I
man.
would
saw somebody
fumble
be
this?
I saw somebody being like, "Oh, Yuji wouldn't be like that emo crybaby. He would thug this shit out." I'm like,
Bro, in the
dude,
beginning, he lost
Nigga,
a
what?
hand and he was pissing himself. Come
Yeah,
on.
but that was beginning Yuji. Yuji now
Also,
he thugs
yeah,
that shit.
yeah. Yuji
hold
right
on, hold
now
on.
would thug that shit out, but Deku's been thugging that shit
Yeah,
out.
Deku's been
Like,
thugging as well. As like they're both thugs
Mhm.
right now.
yeah,
No,
I
no,
want
hold
to
on.
point something out real
Hold on.
quick.
Hold on. But why? Speaking of thugging out, nigga, I just lost both my arms. You acting like I'm over here like, oh, the world is me, nigga. He's like, nah, not yet, nigga, not yet. Nigga was just about to get the fuck up with no arm. Fuck you talking about?
Like, okay, so that's one of the things that I find funny about like the way Deku is perceived, because you have somebody who, like, getting your hands chopped off, broken off, whatever, and being awake for it is enough to elicit a physical response of tears. It's not a matter of you being tough or not. It's a matter of the fact that your body's like, yo, dog, I'm in pain.
where the fuck are my? How the fuck am I gonna hold things now? You
I think
don't.
I'm bleeding out. I need help. And
like-
Deku's like,
Yeah, he's like, I don't hear no bell.
Yuffie reacts with panic a few times when he thinks people are gonna chop off his arms. You want to know
What about
why? You want to know
AFO?
why? Because it's a bad thing that can happen to you.
I'm ready for you. Let's bring it.
I've seen so many memes of him and Overhaul being like amputee buddies.
Like,
Yeah, man. Overhaul's coming to save him.
Oh,
Pro hero Overhaul is coming
I
to
like
give
that-
his fucking arms back. It's
I like that
happening.
I like that you brought that up, Coyote, because there was a theory I saw that I do like.
Exactly. I'm all for it, man. I'm all here for
Uh.
pro hero Overhaul.
Well, Overhaul, but also I've seen
Yeah.
speculation that Tenko is going to reawaken the reconstruct half of the Overhaul quirk and use it to
Yeah, I
repair
saw that
defense.
too.
The only thing I have is why would he Tenko do it this? I don't know. It's like one of those things where it's like Overhaul itself has said himself, even All For One said that is such a hard quirk to master that I feel like even if Tenko did have it, it would be too hard for him to really understand how to fix Deku's hands.
Yeah,
But then again, it's like, who knows? Maybe he does know how to do it. I
mean,
can't say.
We at the end. We at the end. Logic doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, so it's like maybe it can work. I don't know.
It's the
I
final
mean,
30 chapters. The logic don't matter no more. We throw that shit out the window.
Here's the thing: people were speculating Deku was going to lose a hand or lose a whole arm. He lost
Lost
both.
both.
He lost both of them. Honestly,
I was
I'd
expecting one.
argue.
That's why
I'd-
That's why I'm so confused and stumped. I'm like, all right, nigga.
I'd argue that him losing both indicates that he's going to have to get them back.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
agree.
Because, like, if he lost one, it's like, well, at least he still has the other, and maybe May or Melissa can make a prosthetic for him or something.
Or
He
could
lost
pull us-
both. And even though he's more focused on kicks now, him punching things is a very iconic part of the series. Like, you see multiple clips of him in the show or OPs of winding up for punches. So I think taking that away forever, I don't know.
What you mean? He's gonna punch with the nubs
Yeah.
that Sarah's going to repair.
So let me ask y'all this:
God Sero is going to his big moment is he's going to defeat
He's
All
gonna
for
get
One.
jobs. That's
He's
his
going to
big-
defeat All for One. He's going to tape him up. He's going to stick him somewhere. I
He
don't know.
gonna drop him. He gonna drop the nigga at Mount Fuji.
Yeah. It's going to be like, F you, bitch.
So let me ask y'all this then:
Mhm.
Nubs or toes?
Get his flowers. He's the real #1 hero.
What? What's that
Nubs or
question?
toes? I'm gonna wait 3 seconds to see anybody get what I meant. Nubs or toes?
Like, what
All
do I
right, time is
prefer?
up. Time is up. Y'all said Overhaul gonna come back and give Deku his shit. So are they gonna touch arm nubs, or is Overhaul gonna use his toes?
It's
on
just such.
Deku?
Oh,
I already
okay.
got you, East. East, it's set up because
This is
Eri
such
can't
a
use
packed-
rewind. It said it. Eri has no energy for rewind because she rewound Overhaul. So we're gonna use our
okay.
arms, baby.
And okay, like this is the most packed chapter. This might be the most packed chapter of MHA ever, because it's just like it is a huge revelation, obviously, but also it's just like I think this is like the most what is going to happen now moment we've gotten probably ever, because it's like, I mean, we know avenues that are going to happen. I will say this. I saw a lot of negative reactions to this, and it's like it just made me think, and I've been thinking about this when I've seen reactions to JJK leaks. It's like a lot of modern readers just, or even readers in general, just are not able to handle tension very well. They have like like they don't acknowledge it. I don't know if they're even aware of it, but they have like a very comfortable status quo they like
I'd
to
say it
stick
just
to.
depends if someone likes a character or not.
True.
A lot of people don't like Sukuna, for example. Let's use JJK. And because Sukuna is like stomping everybody, it's like, oh my fucking god, Sukuna wins again. Whereas like I see a lot of Sukuna scans like, yeah man, I love this shit, bro. You know, is like if you like a character, especially for reading it week to week, I think more often than not you're gonna enjoy it better. It's the same with Deku. If you like Deku and Deku's doing cool shit, yeah man, it's
Yes,
fucking
sir.
great. But if you see fucking Sato getting 3 chapters of doing random shit, it's like, get the fuck out of here. I don't want Sato. I don't
True.
want Toga.
True. I saw Miguel show up in JJK. I'm like, dude, what is this guy doing? And then I saw him in the next chapter. I was like, okay, he's kind of cool.
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's funny. See what I always find absolutely hilarious, and it's the thing when niggas was always talking about the kids. Like, you do realize any character can get any moment to do any raw thing when the chance is given, right? Like, if he wrote Endeavor, you would just have to put that energy into somebody else and have them do something raw, and then the ties change. Because the opinion of somebody can always change, for good or bad, better or worse.
Yeah. No matter how dog shit a character, if the author wants you to be raw, by God, you're gonna be
They
raw
won't.
this chapter.
Yeah, they'll make them raw, at least to their best ability.
Like, I remember when Thomas was talking about, he was like, man, nobody want to see Miracle on screen. Hey, like, let's get back to Deku throwing it back. And I was like, what do you mean by that?
What?
It was like, Miracle not appealing to me. And I was like, all right, I mean, you didn't have to say that. But then, Miracle did her thing, and then Thomas changed his mind. He was like,
Hey,
maybe
no,
she's not that bad.
listen.
He was like, maybe a
Both
little
Deku and
melanin not that bad.
Mirko are in the same position right now because they are both missing their arms. So I respect her too. There's a lot in this chapter that like had a lot of toxicity pop out, especially towards fellow like MHA readers. Like it was a war zone. Of
I can
people
only
either.
imagine.
Mm-hmm. I've also seen people coming out of the woodworks being like, why is Sato and Ojiro and Zero here? And it's like, why not? If Hori wants to prop them in and make them do cool shit, it's possible. Also, we know Sarah was going to have a moment.
Me and Tarns already had this conversation. It's like MHA don't do enough anime shit to be an anime. But they don't do enough shit not to be an anime. So it's in this weird vortex, like, yeah, allow some shit to slide. And any other thing, we not, besides Volk questioning why Miguel here, everybody else popping up is like, we ain't gonna question why this nigga here. This nigga just here. It's the anime. Fuck it. We do what it do. Like any other series, it's like, niggas don't fucking anime. If Black Clover, let's say Black Clover, for example, if a random wizard just pop up, I don't know all them niggas, but if a random nigga just pop up from another art, niggas ain't gonna be like, what is this random character doing here from X, Y, and Z? It's like when Miriam popped up, it was like niggas had questions like, nigga, number one, it's the anime. Number two, do it really matter where the fuck he came from?
I
Like,
wish we had that trainer in Black Clover. Mars will come back.
The traitor plotline in Black Clover is donkey balls. It's like, oh hey,
Damn,
this
Tom's
happened.
defend your series. Come on, bro.
No, he right.
That was
You got a meat lunch for your series. I don't care what it is.
It's not my series.
Dude. Oh, it's not your series anymore. Oh, really?
Nah,
Not
never
yours.
It's not mine. It's the
I
Litrix.
I hit you up with a message once and I told you
East.
like
Appreciate you
Black
stopping
Clover
by.
still sucks. Just
Jeez.
just to knock you up the wall.
y'all have your father and leave the church to thank for me being here. If it wasn't for that private person to call, my black ass would not be here.
God, man, I said this yesterday, but part of me kind of misses Black Clover. I won't lie. Like,
Hey, we're
Is
getting
it, like,
2 more
over?
chapters this month. Nah, it's on. It's in a different magazine. Different schedule too, so we have to wait like months
dude,
for it.
they keep saying it's gonna be like, oh, it's gonna be going for like even longer. They rebooted it. I'm like, they rebooted it for Giga, where it's gonna be for like a year.
Where series go to die.
Yep. Like,
But I'm glad Tabata has a chance to have a more manageable schedule and
true, but at the
because
same
Mhm.
time, like you gotta admit the wind, whatever wind was
yeah, the wind
whatever
out of the
wind was
sail.
on those sails, that's not there.
They're gone now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it makes a stir when a chapter drops, but it's just like it was inevitable when they made the change. It just was not going to generate that same hype.
Yeah.
Like when MHA ends, when JJK ends, it is going to be a big deal. When Black Clover ends, it's probably going to be like, oh yeah, that happened, which is a bit of a
Unfortunately.
shame. But well.
Speaking of series ending, today was the last chapter of Mama Yu Yu, and I don't think they gave the writer that much notice because it sort of has a non-ending, which I really hope gets expanded upon when they release the volume.
Well, I mean, the writing was on the wall for that.
I know it was, but it's just like
That series shot itself in the foot so damn hard it was ridiculous.
all the
Like,
extra harem shit.
like it started off like, all right, cool. This is a cool concept. We're working with like a high fantasy modern fusion. This is actually pretty cool. This is Lady McFitty. I'm into it. I'm ready. And then it was like, that
Battle
girl's
harem.
got some huge knockers. And I was like, huh? And it was like, he's flat chested and insecure about it. I'm like, oh, are we really doing this?
Like, okay,
Bro,
I
you
don't-
have
I
so
don't-
much potential.
I don't think that was the reason because Japan loves that stuff.
Yeah, it just became mediocre. It just became
Mhm.
bland. It had something that set itself apart and then threw it away.
It's
I'm
ironic
not
because the
yeah, I'm not-
series Hori pushed for is still going, but the series Gege pushed for is gone.
And the series that I always found that funny that like Mama Yu Yu is literally a series with heroes and demon lords, and yet it was recommended
Pushed,
by
yeah.
Gege.
Well, what's funny is that Mama U was blatantly dick riding AFO anyway. So
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a reason
Mhm.
why I called Grisha all faux one FAUX.
dude, people trash AFO. They're like, oh, he's a forgettable villain. Nobody likes him. I'm like, dude, the fact that he gets under so many people's skins tells you that he's a good villain. Like he makes you feel something.
also I'm gonna say that his Hail Mary being okay, so one of the things I like about this is that I do like about the structure of the reveal is that it takes what people wanted about Dad for One and like makes it
Oh.
about All for One's interactions with Shigaraki.
Absolutely. Like it just did not work for Deku, but like when I was looking at it, even before this reveal, considering the whole thing with Decay, it was like the father parallels are with Shigaraki, not Deku. Deku's father figure is All Might. Like it does not really make sense for him to like have interacted with AFO at any point. So by building on what we already knew about Shigaraki, and people say like, oh well, this retcons, this makes MVA worthless. It doesn't matter anymore. I'm like, dude, you see this in MVA too. Like the wavering, Tanko not really wanting to kill his family, but ultimately he reacts in retaliation. And when All for One gives him an explanation and a role, he latches onto that and he thinks this is all I have to do. This is all I have to do to make sense of what happened. AFO finding him, making all embalming those hands to put on him as a form of psychological restraint, uh, getting him out into the night so he can commit his first kills. That's all calculated. Like, he was planning that for a long time. You see that. It wasn't just he found Tanko randomly and be like, all right, let's get this cool kid doing some cool villain shit. He's being predatory right from when you see him. Man, God.
I will say,
This
speaking of
re-rating
that, I like the whole like, oh, this ruins MVA and this ruins Tomura's character and this does this and that and third, and how like All for One has planned everything in the world, so there's no stakes, it's all for One. That it's like Shigaraki wasn't picked up off the street. People still abandoned him. There's so many stuff in Tenko's backstory that has been not touched or ruined by All for One, and it's frustrating when I see people bring that up because it makes no sense to me. Because there's a lot that All for One didn't have a hand in.
I think it comes down to a lot of people mostly love the Kotaro beating Shigaraki and causing the death part of the family. And for them to have to now associate that, well, All for One caused Kotaro to be more strict. Well, All for One said to Kotaro, yes, fuck your wife for me, Kotaro. For the bloodline. He said that shit and had Shigaraki. So it's like they don't want the Shigaraki from the killing his family part being touched at all. Whereas like anything after that can be touched is how I view it.
So, in a way, this does kind of create like I think I joked about this last week where I said like grandpa for one, but it kind of does create that scenario because while he wasn't like fuck the shit out of your wife and don't pull out, was like, your daughter could use a sibling. Like he like pushed, and it's very clear that the disguise that AFO was in played some form of mentor role to Kotaro. So whether he hired him at that construction company and it was basically like that was actually his boss, because him referring to him as like Mr. Shimura, like that feels more formal on our side because we don't necessarily like refer to our coworkers that way for most of us in the West. Like we're not like, oh, that's Mr. So and so. We're like, that's my supervisor, Dale. Like, we wouldn't be like, oh, that's Mr. Shimura. We'd be like, oh, that's my boss, Kotaro. Like, that's just who he is. Or we say, like, Kotaro Shimura is my boss or something like that. We would just say it and we move about our day, but we wouldn't slap it. But that's just the honorific san being applied and translated like one to one. So
also, I saw some people wondering, like, oh, did AFL pay off the truck driver to drive by? It's like, no, it was just that was him talking to Kotaro in that scene. Like, you see him, like he was a work colleague of Kotaro's and was continuously talking to him. He became a friend of the family.
Which
What he told the kids was presumably when it was like a play date, it'd be like, hey, wouldn't it be awesome if Tanko got to be the All Might role next time? Like it was little things like that. And like I didn't know how to feel about the birth orchestration at first, but it just makes sense. It really does.
So
also
I'm looking at the page where you get to see Mikun and Tomo, and you get to see like the background. Looks like it's a play school. Were
Isn't
they
that the
from
hospital? Yes, the hospital Ujiko had for the
Yeah,
children.
are they from that?
That's what I just assume is like he said he gave him something to aspire to. I assume what he means is he set those two kids up to make Shigaraki save them.
And then they became friends. I'm just wondering that because the background looked like very specific.
The only thing is I would have switched those two panels if that was the case, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah,
why I got confused.
yeah. I think Tanko did save them from like an accident at one point, and then AFO he saw that and he nudged them into
Mm,
becoming closer
yeah.
friends with them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like here's the other thing. 99% of what All For One says you cannot take at face value. He's
Yeah.
just he's always stretching the truth. He's always lying, even to himself. There are very rare moments where he breaks character and shows what he truly feels. Like this chapter where like he clearly does not care about the charade anymore. He's just like, fine, I guess I'll do this stupid rule the world plan. That's all he really like. He's poured 100 years into this. He does not know anything else. So, oh,
Which even by that measure, the fact that he didn't think to himself, I will beat the shit out of Deku, go find Eri, and then rewind him and see if he gets his quirk back, and by extension, reactivates the factors, and then I'll take one for all. Then goes to show like how limited his perspectives are,
well,
and
to be
how,
fair, to be
if I'm
fair about
honest,
that,
unimpressive his will is.
to
But
be fair about that, his use of rewind did not affect the factors.
Mhm.
well,
But
he also got kind of like a discount version of Rewind.
true.
Yeah, one's made
It's
by Overhaul.
like he
Store
got,
brand.
yeah, like he got this
Hey,
came
Seth.
out of a quirk bullet. So he got a modified version of the Rewind quirk that was specific. So Ujiko probably tried to reconstruct the quirk, but I mean, when you don't know exactly what the quirk is doing, you're still extrapolating. You're still making some assumptions here. So like him getting that rewind quirk sample, kind of giving him something to work with, but I'm sure with the, because we've talked about this before, and I think it's kind of hilarious that Horikoshi randomly like plays into certain fears that pop up in like modern times from like the league very blatantly being kind of like a cult, which is that's been like a big thing in Japan. Like they have anti-cult campaigns and all kinds of other stuff to like, hey, make sure, hey, college freshmen, here's like 5 tips to make sure you don't get caught up in a cult. Like I'm being serious.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
they'll have flyers and stuff on campus to try to help people not get sucked into cults in college. Um,
That's
which we,
interesting. I didn't know that.
yeah.
Well, I mean, after the subway attack, they'll
Yep.
probably take it very seriously.
Mm.
Which that. So I always say like that was the equivalent of like a 9/11 in Japan. You have like 5,000 people injured by a gas attack,
Yeah.
orchestrated by domestic terrorists, not foreign, and by somebody who not only was like homegrown, but he was actually not a totally successful politician, but people within his cult did get some house seats and stuff, and he did run and try to become the prime minister of Japan. That was actually what turned him into a doomsday cultist, by the way. He didn't get to become the
He
prime
was a
minister.
wide-reaching figure as well. His
Like,
influence spread throughout various different groups of people. It really didn't matter what your class was. There was an appeal to him, if I remember correctly.
yes, they did the classic thing where they had like the reason why they were able to get sarin gas is because they recruited like people who were actually working as scientists for governments and stuff like that, or
Mm.
people who were trying to like be in those fields, university students, uh, actual doctors. Like they had high class citizens coming and joining and being a part of their cult. So you fast forward though, one of the things that people were worried about during the 2010s and stuff like that was there was this DNA modification tool called CRISPR that was discovered at a yogurt factory. We talked about this on stream before, but it's been like a year plus, I think, since this has come up. But what the whole point of the CRISPR thing is that bacteria have like this effective DNA like coding strand where it has like a blank space, and what happens is when it encounters something hostile to it, when it reproduces or whatever, it kind of takes that information and plugs it into that blank chain and like keeps building. And it's like designed to give you immunity or like strengthen your protections against whatever thing that is. And so using that same principle, you can kind of use it as like a cut and clip, cut and paste tool. And other DNA strands is what the goal is. And during the like 2010s, this kit called CRISPR started, like people started like just buying this kit online and trying to make like genetic modifications
Oh,
to animals and stuff in
oh,
their own like basement. So like there's even like a couple of videos, like there's like I think there's like a mini docu series on it on like Netflix where you can kind of watch where this guy is talking about how he's trying to breed specific versions of dogs and he's trying to make it so that he gets a glow in the dark dog. And so he's like injecting the CRISPR tool into the dog's like ball sack to try to like mess with the sperm line so that he can change that and lead the dog to reproducing and having um glow in the dark dogs as a genetic factor. Like most of the time when they're doing this genetic editing, they're trying not to tamper with the sperm line, but he was trying to tamper with the sperm line. And the reason why you don't tamper with the sperm line is because you mess with an animal and it gets out and then it goes breeds. Whatever genetic modifications you make are now just randomly out in the wild interacting with stuff that go beyond the animals that you were supposed to be impacting. They were DARPA specifically. They were going to test out a a modification that was going to make it where I believe it was the rats in New Zealand. What would happen is they would like spread this thing out, and after a certain point, like it came in with like a self-destruct sequence. So like after like 5 generations, all of a sudden all the rats on the island would just go sterile. So they would be able to reproduce and would mess with their gene, like their genome, and then all of a sudden they would all go sterile, and then they just wouldn't be able to reproduce, and they would just kill out all the animals of that specific species on the island. And the islanders was like, I don't know about all that, bro. And like one of the scientists is all, well, they just don't care about science and progress. They're too focused on spiritual. And it's like, bro, one of the guys is like, you're literally doing this for DARPA, a government agency that like is in the military. We don't feel completely comfortable letting you test out the ability to wipe out bloodlines when you work for weapons companies. Because who are you going to sell that to? Who's going to get that? Who's going to gain access to that? How are you going to weaponize that? Why would we want to enable you to be able to do that? And why would we want to be the test ground that willingly enabled you to be able to genocide entire peoples through that kind of manufacturing? We're good on it. In fact, that's part of what hurts India's crops is actually that people have managed to make sterile plants so that if you are a farmer and you buy seeds, you get like one crop rotation, and none of those plants will produce the seeds so that they can keep producing more crops. So just incorporating all that into what he was doing with overhaul, like this is like basement brand, him tampering with like genetic engineering and bullets and when he was making those bullets. So even if you have somebody doing something with it later, like there's been cut and snipped information from the work. So we know that the bullets themselves directly damage the quirk factors and they're basically like gone. So if you can be rewound to have your quirks back, but AFO isn't aware of this and he hasn't even considered this. So that which is really just him having like that limited knowledge. But it also kind of highlights how removed from the process he was with Ujiko's knowledge. Because Ujiko probably would have like thought about that too.
Which part? I'm sorry.
Sorry, that I got distracted halfway through there. What's wrong, little baby? Hold on.
Also, hey Seth, how are
You
you?
guys talk about
Also,
whatever.
hello.
I gotta make sure Genie's okay.
Hello,
Seth, we've been
everyone.
talking
How
for a bit,
was?
so pop off your thoughts.
I don't know. That's kind of difficult because this chapter was very over. It was so overwhelming. Probably one of the most overwhelming chapters in the series. I can't remember the last time something so many things happen like this. Like any one individual thing is a big bombshell, but like we got at least three or so of that all at once, and it's like, wow, how am I supposed to process all of this? It is, it's an excellent chapter as far as like Weekly Shonen Jump goes. Like this is the weekly reading experience, like at its peak. Um, wow. Um, but yeah, so I guess the three main things that happen is the obviously the All for One and Shigaraki stuff, like that was obviously huge. Of course, the current state of Deku is it goes without saying.
Yeah.
And Aizawa, which I am so happy to be back, but also like, oh no. Oh no. What happened?
He lost
Man
his
is a
prosthetic leg
mess.
along the way.
Like that is such an incredible teaser for next week that like you could talk about for a long time all on its own. But no, that's not really. I think the biggest um yeah, the biggest thing to talk about is definitely the All for One Shigaraki stuff, in my view. Um, Mostly because the other stuff is still like kind of open-ended. It's like that's like, okay, what are we gonna do about that? The All for One Shigaraki stuff is now kind of like out in the open. We know what's going on there now. Um, so yeah, that has the most meat on its bones for this chapter. I have to say that this is a I have to take back a little bit what I said last week because yes, All for One is absolutely a narcissist. Of course, he thinks everything is according to his own design. Yeah, no kidding. Okay, he had a point there. He had a point. Um Overall, I think this absolutely works with how the story is written, and I think it works insofar as um yeah, the overall plot beat I think works just fine. This is just something All for One would do. Though I do understand the concerns about Shigaraki's character, but I do think that it's interesting to dig in just the kind of manipulation that All for One used, because this is obviously uh advanced hating, advanced manipulating like endeavor. Take notes. um okay, so the big thing here is the tragedy of his childhood, and that's something that is still it basically played out quote unquote naturally, given everything All for One had done to set up that nest, so to speak. um which is interesting insofar as like Shigaraki's desire to destroy everything related to that house. But that's more like me projecting on how Shigaraki sort of does come back, because My Hero isn't a story where All for One wins. Like, I don't know if that's a spoiler, but All for One doesn't win.
How dare you suggest
Wait,
that?
what?
How dare you
Like,
suggest that Goat for One wouldn't win? Isn't that the
Wait,
point of
are
making
you
something truly subversive
are
and
you
edgy?
implying that My Hero Academia isn't about the villains winning?
like, I don't know
No.
what to say, guys.
Like, are you
It's
telling
spoiled.
me that Jujutsu Kaisen sorcery fight?
I actually think Sukuna does win that one for the most part. Not like in like the grand scheme of things, but like,
Hey man,
well,
Sukuna did all he
that's
needed
a
to
whole
do,
other
man.
discussion. But
Uh, he's he's gonna win in some regards, but he's
Sukuna
definitely
wins mostly.
Yeah, man, he
He
takes out
doesn't
everything
like.
with him, man.
I don't think he lives, but I don't think it's like straight up a happy ending for everyone in
I
Jujutsu
agree.
Kaisen. Like that's
Came back to Sukuna
no,
wins.
no, but what people are saying is that he is going to succeed in activating the merger, which is like I'm saying, well, that's not like if he does, then that is going to stop. Like it doesn't end with humanity extinct. Like
right. Like, yeah, no, there's not. No, that's not gonna. The fate of our main characters aside,
yeah.
like Sukuna is going to
Yeah.
lose. It's just at what cost kind of thing. But I
So
digress.
so
But I digress.
Seth, I'm gonna ask you again if your perspective has changed about Deku and the Quirks.
Oh, right, that. Okay. Hold on.
Wait, what was his
I
original
want
perspective?
to finish off my thought on All for One real quick. So,
Okay.
like, All for One really does find himself in the position of a god. Okay, like this is actually a very like, and this is also a phobia. This kind of plays into like fear of human free will. Like, do we have it? Kind of. Um, and it's like, and I think that's just a really interesting thing that he attacks with. Because this is massive gaslighting. Um, and the scary thing is like it's not even like 100% wrong. It's more that just Shigaraki's in total crisis, and I like how that plays out. It's like he had made his purpose in life destruction to cope with what he did. Like that's obviously a deeply rooted trauma response, but that's what he did. And then All for One is like, yeah, about that, no. Like your identity was built on this grand thing that I fabricated. So there's nothing for you actually. You're just the tool. And that kind of thing is just basically Shigaraki had like everything taken from him. I think people take that a step too far with how robbed his agency is. Like Shigaraki is still a person.
Absolutely.
Like that's it's a thing. He's still a person, and that's why I say like, okay, look, All for One doesn't win this, guys.
AFO
So
is the type who claims credit and responsibility for shit he just did not do. There's
well,
a lot of stuff
yes and no.
Shigaraki's done on his own. Like if he was as resolute in Shigaraki's decision making as he thought, he would have stolen One for All by now.
Probably.
Also, I'm going to point something out here. Who got the quirky racing bullets? Who got the MLA on their side? And which, don't get me wrong, you could argue that the PLW and all of those stuff was like Shigaraki failing, but like Shigaraki wasn't going to abandon them. And if Twice had it, or if Dabi hadn't been willing to bring in Hawks, they would have just won.
Yeah,
Like
no, like
if Shigaraki doesn't go for the AFO surgery and instead it's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna lead this army. We're just gonna slide on these niggas in like 2 weeks. It would have been over.
it's a yes and no thing for me because I don't like downplaying All for One's role in the story either. Like from his
I don't even say
perspective,
that to. I don't say that to downplay him. Honestly, I say that to like we got to acknowledge just how much Shigaraki
right,
genuinely achieved.
I'll
right,
be
no,
on
no.
the
Shigaraki
side that
does.
I think Endeavor folds Shigaraki in that war right then and there.
Oh no, yeah, that too. It's like Shigaraki was kind of down and out until All for One interferes. But like I'm just saying, like, there's a thing where it's both, where it's like you're the parent of a kid, right? You're responsible for how that kid turns out to a point. So, like, I
Yes.
understand there's like this twisted parental aspect to it. All for One is just, of course, a narcissist on top of that. So, like,
Yeah.
he doesn't give Shigaraki even the room in his own mind, at least, to be his own person. So that's like he is the toxic parent of My Hero Academia
Yeah.
next to Endeavor in that regard. So
Also, a real quick want to answer a question in the chat from Mrs. Rich. The lie to Ujiko was that he told Ujiko directly that Shigaraki was born with a twisted nature, which would have suggested that decay was his from birth. But instead, now he's saying, "Oh, I did all this." So either he lied to Ujiko or he's lying here.
No.
That's the important thing to
It
catch.
could
Think about
mean
this again
that
though.
he
He
was
was
saying,
not
oh,
he actually was not lying there. He was doing from a certain point of view kind of thing. Because he made sure Tenko was born in the first place for the purpose of stealing One for All. So from a perspective, he was born twisted, but not because he's inherently evil, but because AFO put him on a path he had no chance of getting away from.
yeah,
Which
I
that
agree
sounds
with
like him
that
lying to
line of
himself,
reasoning.
because
yeah, I'm not
that's
sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, it is
That's the
entirely
same.
possible that plans change throughout the course, but I still think like this does work. Like,
because like words have meanings, right? So if he's
Yes.
born with that, then that means it's inherent to him. So to say like, oh, because I planned this, this person was born twisted, is just like an objectively wrong sentence,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
which is
100%
which is the
different.
problem with that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can't be
yeah,
like, So that's why it's like either it's a lie, it could just be poorly translated, but there's like some form of lie to it, whether it's a lie to himself or a lie to Ujiko. Either one works, but it is like a certain level of like just not accurate based on what he's saying here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, there's a point to like there's a point to where this is the story that All for One needs to tell. It's similar to Tenko, where he copes with what he did as that's my purpose in life. That's why I was born. I was born to destroy. That's why everyone I loved had to die, kind of thing. Like he incorporated that into his identity. That All for One is trampling on, and that is such an interesting final card to play, and I do kind of love it, even though like I understand the people's gripes about how Shigaraki's agency is compromised, because yes, but it's like done in a way that's like kind of the point, if that makes sense. And also because it's not the end of the story, it doesn't really rub me the wrongest of ways. Plus, I think the story just makes more sense with All for One as its central villain, just because like you have this, people are gonna come together to help with this final phase, and I think this works better. I like Deku versus Shigaraki by itself because it really let both characters shine. Like um, even after Deku is able to assuage, I don't know what the right word is, but he's able to calm Shigaraki's heart even after all that. What stands it back against Deku isn't Shigaraki's villainy, but his heroism. Like he wants to help people that were, tossed aside and stuff. And that core is not something that All for One compromised or even cares about. He's just All for One, just like, okay, yeah, that's nice you have that, but also you're going to be the tool for my revenge and destruction against One for All and such. So like it's more like All for One is all for what whoever Tenko is doesn't matter to All for One is the thing. Like so like even if Tenko has other parts to him that are his own, All for One has they have no use for All for One. So that's why I think people are a bit too harsh on Shigaraki's agency. He has it. It's just he's compromised because of the nature of All for One. And I don't know. I feel like All for One is a very Aizen type villain, and people seem to not have a problem with that in Bleach, but I guess they do in MHA. I don't know.
It's because it's because of the nature of Aizen's reveal.
Aizen sucks. I hate him.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but
I know, but I can't help but diss Aizen because I just don't like how contrived some things are with it. But overall, what I like about Aizen is that he does satisfy the cool, badass, and also like trying to turn everything on its head kind of thing. And that has just like a broad appeal. And I think that's what people project onto Shigaraki even.
so
But
with
like,
Aizen, I think it's because I think part of it is because when we were introduced to him as a villain, we were introduced to him as this big planning villain. The arc we finally truly meet All for One, like sure you get that part where he's like shit talking after like I think it's after USJ, maybe a little later, where he's like he's gonna be the next me, ha 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 ha, or whatever, right? Like
yeah.
which should indicate that he's a schemer.
Mm-hmm.
But
right. No, just
we also know
relative.
that
I just mean
he's supposed to
relative
be
to what they do in the plot. Like a lot of Aizen's shtick is just like, oh, if I do this and this, it's like you don't know that's gonna turn out the right way. Like there isn't a logical progression in my
oh
mind
no,
for Aizen's actions to the results. It's very contrived in a way that's fine. It's still an entertaining story. I just like, okay, you just kind of lucked out that this worked out this way, didn't you? Like
Well,
what I'm saying is moreover that it's just how people met the villain because
um,
like you're right, AFO is trying to be it. The other thing is that AFO is more corny than Aizen too.
well,
That's the other
AFL's a
thing
bit
that kills him.
AFL's a weirdo too. I
Well,
mean,
he is. I just mean what bugs me the most about Aizen is that most of the, and this is
We don't
actually more
actually
of a
get details on
I
his
mean,
plans.
here's the thing this chapter implies. All for One was perfectly okay with possessing a female body. That was
okay.
not
Now that hold on.
that was not the issue with possessing Hannah. Hannah was too old. If Tenko was a
Hey.
girl, he would have still done the same thing.
I don't want to
man,
think
if
about
Kenjaku
that.
could do it, All for One can do it, man.
I don't want to think about that. Volk.
I mean, this whole situation is kind of a very warped, strange form of sexual assault, kind of.
It's all quite perverse.
Yeah.
This is like Toga Himiko, but like from a weird old man, and it's still perverse. Still very disturbing. But yeah, no, I forget it. Like, I actually have limited time, so I don't want to
Oh,
get
yeah.
sidetracked about my issues with Bleach and even Naruto. Just, I mean, a lot of it is just comic book fan stuff, right? Like every comic book fan that gets deep into their shtick is like, well, why wasn't it like this or like that? And it's like, okay, look, sometimes contrivances help move the plot along. Not everything is this big deal.
Helpful, you
So
did
yeah,
not have to say it that way.
it's still just comics at the end of the day. So like my grievances about like how I feel about Bleach and Naruto final villains are really neither here nor there. I do appreciate how All for One's written, and I don't really need to put down other series for that. But at the same time, it is annoying the online discourse of Twitter. Like I don't know, All for One is a character that behaves a lot like a lot of other iconic characters in shonen, but he gets shit on because it's MHA. Is how I feel.
People
But
just, okay, the other thing is people just really like Shigaraki more,
yeah, I know, and I
which is kind
also
of why AFO needs to be the bigger villain.
well,
Because everybody
yeah,
likes
because this is
Shigaraki.
the only path for Shigaraki to like be vindicated in any kind of way. Because like what Shigaraki did was absolutely terrible. Like there isn't actual like social acceptance awaiting for Shigaraki because he's burned that bridge like
Yeah.
thoroughly. But so the only catharsis he can have as a character is taking back his agency from All for One. And I think in that regard, this is probably the best he can hope for in terms of uh, a satisfying kind of catharsis and conclusion for his character arc.
And I've said Shigaraki choosing to die could very well play into his heroism. You know,
Yeah. Yeah,
it,
it's a very interesting dynamic that the authors set up. Just like
because the League is kind of one big cautionary tale.
exactly.
Like if you
No,
don't want minorities or like discriminated groups against to like rise up, rebel, then just treat them like humans in the first place.
well,
If
what
you
happens
don't
is
want,
that you have people like All for One who will exploit these types of gaps in society where it's not like there's any one true villain in society until like, All for One steps in and twists things for his own specific needs. So yeah, no, I agree. Like the League of Villains thing is much more of a cautionary. It it's I figure what you would call. I think I forget if you call that anti-hero or there are several types of uh hero tropes. I forget. Shoot. Um
but yeah,
yeah, yeah, no, actually I think it is called anti-hero where it's like you are a symbol of what happens in the absence of virtue kind of thing. It's like you don't behave like this or you get this kind of situation. So yeah, cautionary
mm,
tale, anti-hero, I feel like that actually fits the League of Villains best
How many
overall.
of you?
And it doesn't invalidate their positions either.
This
Like,
is, this is going to be very random, but how many of you have played Live Alive?
no.
What?
Okay, it's an RPG from Square. It's 1994.
No,
It
definitely not.
inspired Chrono Trigger, Undertale, a lot of things. And the main antagonist of that is like his story is very similar to Shigaraki's, actually. Um, so yeah, that's all I'll say about that. But anyway, it
Interesting.
it it just reminded me of that. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I think and I'll yeah, I like the anti-hero label for the villains, even if, like story-wise, it might not technically like that's not the
Yeah, more
narrative that
like that's what I was
MHA
gonna
goes
say.
for.
Because like anti-hero to me sounds like they're not really like 100% villain, but they still do hero actions. Whereas like the villains here,
They're
right as it
still
stands, feels like they'll just do villain actions, but we wouldn't know
right.
after what happens, because they still have to rebuild.
well, the thing is that
Yeah.
when you look at like what Dobby was doing though, he was kind of taking after his father, cleaning up the streets a bit once he decided to get active. Because he would like go up to villains,
Yeah.
find out they weren't good villains, and cook them.
He was cleaning the bums off the streets.
But he was also cleaning. Was he cleaning innocence as well? That's where I'd be like,
Purging, more like it, you know?
yeah.
Yeah, that's it's so interesting, just the mirror image setup, which isn't to imply moral equivalence between hero and villain. I think that's like that's just you're not reading the story. The villains embrace the villain identity. It's not like
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like memories is built on victories. Like if the villains win, they're the heroes of the story. You know?
in terms of like the villain society they create, that is true, but like that's like very still divorced from like morality. That's more like narrative focused justice as opposed to anything like is it true justice kind of thing. But that's like a whole other topic, I think. Like that's you don't have to talk about MHA at all for that, and I kind of actually want to stay focused on MHA just a little bit longer because I have to skedaddle really soon. Shoot. Okay, so like
was
the
the
last
puck
thing I wanted
ready?
to bring up
Oh,
was
sorry.
Deku. Because Volk asked me a question about that. Um, that is open-ended stuff. I'm sorry, it just is. I still think he has like stockpile inside him. So, but whether how what do you do now? I guess okay, so everyone is screaming for Eri like Sukuna screams for Maharaga right now, and like what
That's
else?
great. I love that.
That's just like
Look,
where's that
I'm one of
edit?
them.
I need like an edit for that. Just like
Save me, Eri-chan!
Nasuke.
like that's
The One Piece meme, like
Yeah, it's
save me,
Sanji.
Robin.
like damn. So okay. So far I don't think anything has actually changed. I'm just kind of short circuiting. It's like we're gonna get through this somehow. I don't know how. We're gonna but yeah, that's I just I don't know. Actually, I said I wanted to talk about it, but I honestly just want to die.
Okay. If he still has stockpiling, then that might be it for the other quirks. But I believe he's fully quirkless because what All for One says about like being born with nothing, having a pitiable end.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, for a
okay,
child
okay.
who has
Actual
nothing to
text.
lose in the first place.
Well, then I question you on this, Volk, is if he is quirkless, then what does that mean for the rest of this fight? So
Well,
It'll be epic.
it'll be epic.
It'll be epic, won't it?
That's why I was wondering if Shinso was going to show up because like he like the way things are established right now. I'm sorry, you cannot have Sato make the final blow.
Sato does the United States of Smash, man. Fuck.
Sato goat. Sato
maybe,
goat.
maybe if Gege was writing this, I don't know.
Ultimate muscle reference. Let's go.
Exactly, man. He's just been stockpiling this entire time. He
Uh,
wasn't fighting, he was eating.
He's sugar doped, man.
1 million calories worth of sugar, man.
what 1 million calorie punch?
Exactly.
I don't know.
It's actually a lot of energy.
It is, yeah.
But
no, I'm actually really excited to see like what. I mean, I'm sure everyone is, but just like, okay, now what do? And then you come in with the literal extras, and it's like, okay, I guess we're doing this.
I think we have an idea of where things are going to go. It's just how are we getting there specifically? That's
exactly.
We were given the template already. So one of the things that I realized is that the Dekuverse Kachan structure was kind of the structure for Act for how the final battle would go. So first battle, if you remember from Dekuverse Kachan, that like fight itself, it was like their class exam. It was like them sizing each other. Deku just washes fucking Sugar for one, which is really just him being like a cut above him and him not having quirks or whatever.
Yeah.
But like as far as the mental battle goes, like Deku like straight up washed Bakugo and Ida as far as that actual exam, the strategies and all that other stuff. They won pretty well. But they didn't like there was no communication really. There was no like trying to understand each other during that fight or anything like that. So phase 2 of this battle with Deku versus Shigaraki, that's where the understanding is. You know, Deku versus Kachan too.
Yeah.
Bakugo's
Oh,
fighting him because he's trying to understand why he is worthy.
that's
Which,
actually a really cool way to set up this last phase,
and
actually.
then phase 3, Deku versus Kachan 3 is Deku versus Class 1A. All one for all versus 1A. So we get all for one versus 1A as they come in. And it's after Deku's at his lowest point that they reach out to try to step onto the battlefield to pick up the pieces when he's too exhausted and can't. Isn't that right, Genie Beanie?
You can
Oh.
also look at two specific panels in this chapter in order to, because like obviously next chapter, if we don't spend all of it on Kurogiri and what happened when he picked up everyone like a taxi cab, is obviously the mystery of does Deku still have the stockpile? And it's two panels. One is when he's reaching out his hand, Shigaraki for one, and he's like, for a child with nothing to lose on the first, he was about to hit Deku or something. You can either look at that as stealing the stockpile or him using air cannon, which I'm down for the second half. However, in the not yet panel, you see little like whispers, whether that's the embers of One for All or Kurogiri's warp gate. That is probably going to be answered next chapter, 100%. Because I don't think Deku lost the stockpile aspect.
I agree.
I still
I don't
think
think
that
that.
unless there's some vested world shenanigans with Shinzo, I would have to see a lot more to believe that
I mean, the fact is,
that could go back to
AFO,
Deku.
like AFO was gonna kill Deku right there. Like he was
That's
not
why
gonna.
that's why I was going on the route of like air cannon or another quirk where he was reaching out his hand and his Zero intercepted. But I saw a lot of people in the chat, not a lot of people, but one person say like, was he reaching out to like steal the stockpile?
Also, I'm just gonna say, like somebody mentioned how this chapter could create room for Dad for one. If I'm honest, I think this chapter like is another one of those ones. It's like this isn't happening.
I
And the
mean,
reason
that coffin was already nailed shut, and then Horikoshi took like a big ass stake, angled it right over, got his hammer, and just hammered it in. That
Oh, he
shit
Caesared that.
is impossible. It's
Yeah.
not happening.
because with this chapter, this was supposed to be All for One's Hail Mary chapter. So we should expect no more big secrets, big reveals.
He's got nothing
Deku's
left.
father is dead.
He's got nothing left.
The next reveal is All for One revealed. He told Deku's father to come ink those cheeks, man. He's been pulling the seams all the time.
So this should be it for reveals.
Yeah.
This is now about just beating the shit out of this guy once again.
Correct.
And whoever arrives to that battlefield, cool, they make it. I'm a little worried about Eraserhead.
I mean,
Yeah.
He looks like he is seeing some stuff.
No,
Hori-
you mean his like prosthetic leg?
Hori also seems to be
Is that what you
planning
mean?
ahead for
He's crying
how,
or was.
for how he ends volumes now that we're like at the end. Like he didn't necessarily compromise earlier, but now that we're at the end, he seems to be kind of leaving each one with the solid hook. This volume should end about 321, 322. I'm wondering.
Where is that?
421, 422.
Oh, okay. I thought
Yeah.
that was something we already had.
Yeah, I'm wondering if AFO's presence is going to stretch a little further into the next volume or if it's going to be very brief. That's a real question.
I think, and I joked about this last stream, I think if Shigaraki's coming back, it's to stop AFO so Deku can kill him now. I joked about that last stream, but it might happen.
I mean, hey, you were right about him taking over Shigaraki's
Yeah, I
body.
always thought
So
he was
hey.
going to take over Shigaraki's body again. I
So the
said
thing
that
is,
with Deku doing this talk, that's going to lower his hatred. So if
Yeah.
Vestige was to come back, it would be now.
Yeah, exactly.
here's the thing though, with that hand over All For One's face, we know that the Shigaraki consciousness is going to do something.
He'll
It's-
reawaken.
It's the magical MacGuffin here. It's like
Mhm.
Horikoshi's like blatant way of saying Shigaraki's still here.
I mean, like, dude,
Tempo has one more card to play.
if AFO wasn't concerned, he would not make the hand mask.
All right, so guys, that was so chilling. Shoot, I wanted to geek out about that because that's like nightmare fuel. But sorry, I actually have to leave. So
Oh,
take care, guys.
Aw.
See you, Seth.
Appreciate you as always, Seth.
Appreciate
See
you.
you,
Yeah, man.
Seth.
Much love. Have a good day.
Much love.
Bye.
Looking forward to next time. Peace.
Yes.
Oh, you know what I just realized?
Mhm.
What?
This was chapter 419, right?
Yes.
Oh wait, no,
Yes.
never mind. Next week is 413. I lied.
Yeah.
I got excited for a second because I was gonna be like, damn, the 420th chapter is gonna drop on 420. But it's not.
Yeah. I mean, it's also 420 is Bakugo's birthday.
Yeah.
Maybe Bakugo comes back. Woo. Apparently, we're going to get Jump Giga like cover with Bakugo and Deku.
Oh,
they're going to
that's
a
what I
few
was gonna say. This jump cover this week,
Oh, it completes.
Horikoshi thinks he's funny.
I was about to bring that up because not only did it kind of, I seen a lot of reactors who do like the scans, be like, yo, he kind of spoiled Shigaraki's muzzle hand, but also Deku has his arms back, so obviously we're not going to end the series with Deku armless on, both ends. So it just comes down to either Chisaki comes back and he does
Firm
a little
believer, man.
Dan Snyder with his foot, or we see something to do with Rewind, which I don't think will happen.
Mhm.
Like people were saying, oh, because he kind of retconned throughout the series, he's going to retcon Eri with Rewind. No, he's not. I think it is clear cut. Eri is done for. Eri is
I
going to be
agree.
watching, cheering on Deku, like the two little fanboy and fangirls that they are with Kota, and we're going to
My
get
stance
Chisaki.
on it is that
Yeah.
I've always said that I think Aries quirk stockpiles like regret and just negative emotions. So for me, especially if like the camera can capture that Deku is armless,
Mm-hmm.
I see her being very regretful, mournful, and upset, and that extreme. Because like, why is it taking so long for her to build up a stockpile now compared to like what it seems like she was capable of doing back then? To me,
You
the
think
answer is
because she's in a
not.
better situation. She's surrounded by people who care for her. She's losing that touch in a way. So do you think that because we now see Kurogiri's portal with white, or I guess that's yellow for like the Kurogiri like eye, whatever, or maybe the white because Shirakumo's hair. Do you think that Shirakumo will teleport Eri in? She does her
I
thing
think
and then
no.
he teleports out.
I think Deku would get taken off the battlefield temporarily.
So we're pulling a JJK with Ui swapping people out
Yes.
to okay, I can see that.
I would not expect, in which, if I'm honest, I think that, like, I remember back during Shibuya, we kind of joked about, like, Gege and Horikoshi sharing notes, but
Oh,
I
they definitely do.
feel like they're both, like, talked about some shit, and we're like,
Mhm.
oh, I like this idea, and they were both like, yeah, we're going to try it in our own way, because I think Deku gets brought off the battlefield for a little while, so that he can...
You have a super chat, by the way.
Yeah, I was waiting to do the super chat.
All right. No, Google, I do not want to change my name. Can you see? That's how you can tell I know this person.
Yeah.
This person, because I can't even see their name fully. Happy Sunday, everyone. I haven't been here live in a while because of school. Really proud of Deku for reaching out, even if it cost him so much. Hail Hori. Damn straight.
Oh, Aniki, Taneja has a good question to your theory on Aries' quirk. She says, but if that's true, what triggered Aries' quirk emergence as a baby?
Being a baby is stressful.
I mean, you know more than anyone right now.
Maybe that is it. Stress
And I,
really
and I
does
don't
it.
and I don't say that like sarcastically. I want you to think about this for a second, right?
Mhm.
You spend 9 months in a dark, warm environment made of like with a bunch of liquid surrounding you, right? So when you are born, I want you to think about like, have you ever slept in a bedroom that was like really dark? It's like it had like dark curtains or anything like that?
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
every
then you
day, man.
oversleep, and then you like step out and it's like summer or something, and the sun is just blazing and it's a bright blue sky, and you feel like you're
Mhm.
about to go blind. So that's what babies experience the first time they are born.
Mhm.
Except they spent like 9 months in the dark, with like 2 to 3 months of those being months where they had eyes or whatever.
So
Then you have to experience being cold for the first time. You have to experience different smells. You basically spend like the entire like first couple months being overstimulated in your life.
Mhm.
Like you can't remember shit as a baby because being a baby is traumatic. Everything is new. You don't know anything that's going on. When you get hungry, you just know you're in pain. You don't know what that pain means. When my daughter feels pain in her teeth because she is teething, she doesn't know, like, oh, I'm growing a tooth here. She knows that the nerves along her jaw are flaring up all the way up to her ear, and she ends up scratching and pulling at her ear. Sometimes she scratches her ear so much that she actually like leaves little like actual scratches that kind of scab over a little bit because babies don't know how to process all the pain and stuff they're dealing with. So if you told me that Ari accidentally like popped her father out after teething, I would believe you because teething is a nightmare.
So what you told me is Aries' parents were L parents.
Oh, and smoke that fire is right. So here's the thing. My boy Dom and smoke that fire knows Dom. Because smoke that fire and I'll go back to high school. I've said that before on
Mhm.
stream. And we were even roommates for at one point in our lives. Uh, my buddy Dom comes over basically every Wednesday. He's also the one that I used to watch Dragon Ball Super every Saturday with, and I told you
Mhm.
guys about Super
Goat.
Saturday. Um, every week she kind of acts like he's brand new. She's not totally hostile towards him, but like he was holding her at one point, and she just kind of like slowly started pushing away from him. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I like, and it's like he's super nice to her. He's bought her a steel tone drum, all kind of stuff. And like I
No.
said, sees her almost every week. Even when my wife was pregnant, we were still hanging out like pretty much every Wednesday watching stuff. But she still acts like he's brand new.
Mhm.
So babies don't want to deal with like almost anybody or anything. So yeah, Mary just kind of was a baby dealing with baby stress, and her quirk was like, "Yeah, we gonna explode, bro. You tired of this shit?" Like this baby. Think about it. She was fussing. You guys saw me like doing push, like bench pressing her and doing all kinds of stuff to get her to giggle. I'm sure you guys noticed I was standing at one point, and now she's asleep because even though she's over a year old, she still hasn't figured out that if she is tired or sleepy, that making more noise doesn't help.
W father.
That's just being a baby.
When are you gonna take care of your kid, Thomas?
What? Well, do you have information I don't know?
I mean,
My
I guess you're
kid.
I guess you're deadbeat. I mean, I guess that's
My
all it is.
kid.
Gosh,
Man,
you're just an L. I'll make sure everyone knows you're a deadbeat father over here.
that's crazy. Spreading lies about me again. First off, my own favorite character lost both of his arms. That's already. It was the first thing I saw of this chapter. I just immediately went to sleep because I didn't want to because I thought it was fake. Same panel, and then I get treated like this. No way.
Yeah, I'll make sure everyone knows your firstborn
What the?
son, Tato, is gone, man. Being raised alone by a single mother. I can't believe this,
I
Thomas.
I don't appreciate how you turn on me again, and now the chat is turning on me. L
What
Thomas,
what the
SMH
fuck?
Thomas. That's
Exactly.
crazy. Y'all not supportive. I see you now.
So Cameron, I do think we need to get a perspective switch.
Yeah.
Not because I'm like tired of the fight with Deku or anything like that.
No, this is
Also,
important. We have
also,
to.
Horikoshi is nicer than me.
What would you
Because
do?
you know what the final page of this chapter would have been for me?
Deku without his arms.
Yes.
I don't like you. I don't
That would
like
have been
that.
the final page of the chapter and the final page of a volume. You would have got to the end of the volume and just saw Deku armless.
I would have ran out, took my money, and bought a new one.
It'd be like, you want to know what's next? You better go start buying Shonen Jump. Want to be a
Yeah.
volume only reader? You can volume only read this armless nigga for the next 4 months. How about that? Like,
The lore. I also do think that, like I said, it's an important like event. Like Kurogiri, Aizawa, Mike. The fact that we don't see Mike so far, he's probably gonna come back. It's another Froppy with the glasses, the goggles situation. Like I don't think Mike has been touched in any way. I do think the teary-eyed Aizawa is definitely because of Shirokuma. Whether it is the portal is Kurogiri's last portal and it kind of said goodbye. Who knows? I am actually really excited to see it. I hope we do get an entire chapter dedicated to it, or at least like 75% of it. What'd you say?
I said, this is his last portal. I'd be sick.
I'm trying to prepare myself for that.
I'd need a 2-chapter story at least. Like I need at least 2 chapters to like figure out what's going on with that.
How would you feel if it was 3 pages worth or like 5
That'd be
pages?
sad, very sad. I'd be disappointed even.
Wait, what'd you say?
Oh, I
If
said I'd be
the
disappointed.
yeah,
Also, because I would have still wanted it to be a 15-page chapter. I would have added, or 17-page chapter, I would have added a couple more pages of more shit talking both Deku and Shigaraki. It would have been like a whole chapter of roasting.
I would like
with
that.
him armless.
I would love that, but I like what Hori did with All for One here, where instead of All for One gloating, it's All for One broken. We mentioned that All for One is kind of like depressed because we like it was clear as day the reason why All for One wanted One for All was because of Yorichi, and now that according to him, let me find the chapter, the page. Izuku Midoriya, how dare you destroy my One for All, my Yorichi? And then later he's like, my intermediate goal has been foiled. And I'll move on to my hollow, immaterial final goal. That's not a way for you to describe, oh, I've won now. Now to move on to my next goal. He lost the only thing that he wanted to have that kept him going. Like, he's essentially a child. If you lose, like, kind of your best friend where you guys play heroes together or hero and villain, it feels worthless. Like, why would I ever want to do this again? Like, I might as well just move on to, you know, a big goal of world domination. Like All for One is broken. And I feel like that kind of alleviated my anguish with, Decay, because I got to see All for One kind of suffer here.
listen, man. All for One can try all he wants at world domination. He's not stopping the fucking Florida heroes, bro. They are an unstoppable mess.
No, yeah, he's not stopping Koichi and Captain Celebrity.
Koichi isn't Florida man, okay?
He can be.
You can't just become Florida. You're just born with it.
Hey, man.
I mean, based on what he was getting into, he kind of was.
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all think Sero gets a moment bigger than this one?
Unless this is the big Sero moment.
I mean, I don't see a point to go back to Gashly's battlefield because I don't even consider Aoyama beating Kunita a big moment. I don't.
So you think that next chapter we're just going to see like Aizawa like pop out of the portal?
Because I feel like
come with me.
Aizawa's gonna quirk nullify Gashly, and that's how they beat him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we teleport to the new field.
I mean, apparently his quirk doesn't work with one eye. So
then his bum ass better get out of here.
So I have a question, right?
Yeah. What's up?
Do you guys think we're going to have a rehash of the last war where Aizawa will constantly be using erasure. Because I don't see that happening. But I want to push this towards you guys.
Based on what we had explained to us, it can't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's why they use Momo in the first place.
Yeah,
unless it's something like he can only do like limited bursts, like
mm-hmm.
second deactivations or something like that. So it ends up being like him creating a bunch of little windows, which would add like a more technical aspect to the fight, which I'm okay with this.
That's why I was thinking too.
But I think that we're starting with Eraserhead. Like the fact that Eraserhead is like walking up.
Yeah.
And the look on his face, he is so fed up. And like, somebody else pointed out, it does look like he's been crying.
Mm-hmm.
But
He's missing his prosthetic too.
No, he has his prosthetic.
Yeah, it's just in the portal.
The leg? Oh,
you have
like
to zoom in. Yeah.
Oh.
There's just like a bend on his leg because he's taking a step through.
Yeah, I thought the same, Joseph. I was like, wait, did it get gone? Like, what's going on there? How is he hopping up and down?
The other thing I'm a little confused about is how, like, because we don't see how Sero got here. So I'm trying to figure out if Aizawa sent these 3 students out ahead of himself, which doesn't sound very Aizawa-like. But maybe
that's,
they were like,
that's where
just warped them in faster.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking that with the not yet panel, was that just the embers are one for all, or Kurogiri's warp gate? Because like you'd have that happen on the I think it's page 13.
Oh yeah, I see it now.
Yeah.
I think that's blood from his arm.
On the bottom right panel?
Oh, the not yet.
Yeah. Because I think that's embers. It looks like a fire. I don't know if it's warp gate, but if it is warp gate, it would make sense because you'd have that happen. Then,
Okay, I think that's just stylizing.
Yeah, I think that's just for thoughts.
Guys, zoom into the panel.
And it looks like a face, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks like I can see like some teeth or something. Looks a look.
It's like you could kind of see a nose, and you see like the eyes like closed.
Like it almost looks like the head is upside down, like the mouth is open with like broken teeth.
But I can see
it
that.
Also kind of looks like some teeth on the right side towards the bottom too. I can't tell if it's just like a really stylized panel or the mist or something.
I think it's stylized because I think it's one of those things like how animes they cut to black and then something pops out.
Yeah.
I don't know. But even then, I kind of wouldn't even think that because nothing like big pops out besides All For One just talking shit.
That is true, Tyler. Like, Sero just ran ahead because Sero is like we can tell he's faster than Aizawa. Like he could just pop right through.
All For One ran, not All For One. Aizawa ran track, bro. He's not faster.
No, I mean Sero is faster.
Exactly. Aizawa ran track, bro.
When you think he can, when he got the prosthetic, he's like, I can work with this.
Yeah, man. There's no other thing to do now. You got prosthetic, just run track.
In the kind of the scans, it says, what was it? We're here now. But in the officials, it's sorry for the delay, so definitely we are getting more people coming. I'm just excited to see who else is coming.
I think Uraraka should come here. No cap.
I think so too.
I like about this is Deku's comment, like, you're still alive.
I mean, like people have been speculating, like, man, that art piece he did with Deku Chaco in the sky, like, nah, that's not gonna happen. There's no way for it to happen now. I'm like, no, he's probably gonna do it. And now we're in a situation where it kind of feels like you have to get it.
I don't know what people are talking about in the arc. He didn't have his arms. I don't know what people talk about. I think they were lying about that.
Wait,
Stuff
what?
Gonna happen. You know the art piece where it's they're falling through the sky? Let me find it for you. I'll send it to you. Also, that was sarcasm.
You ain't said what? Oh, the one with Uraka and Deku in the sky.
Yes,
That one. Okay, yeah.
I do think that is gonna
I mean,
be depicted.
he's alluded to each of the art pieces he's done in that exhibition more or less one way or another.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think you're gonna see it.
Question: does Akira blow up in the sky or something?
It's
I'm
not
asking that
Akira.
because
It's
maybe
not
that happens.
okay. The guy you see in Akira, who's like the big, who's using psychic powers and the big baby, that's not Akira. That's Tetsuo.
Okay, yeah, because if we're doing that reference to the art piece, maybe that's a reference to what's going to happen is uh Shigaraki
He
blows up in the
he
sky and they're floating down.
I mean, Tetsuo does at least in the manga. So I mean,
Yeah,
in
in
the
the
movie
movies,
they
he
do it a
kind
little
of
differently because spoilers if you
transforms
haven't seen
and
the movie, great film,
look,
but
it's over 30 years old. It's older than me.
it's really old. In the movie, it's explained that Tetsuo is acquiring new mass because his psychic powers are preparing his body to create a new universe. So, I don't think I think MHA takes more inspiration from the manga version where it's a little different. It is simply his psychic powers overwhelming him. So,
Also,
anyway, there's a lot of
funny
extra
thing.
details. I highly recommend people watch the film and read the manga because it is a very foundational story, and you start seeing it throughout a lot of Japanese work afterwards once you know what goes down.
In the US, the movie is now available on Disney Plus.
Oh,
Oh yeah, I watched it on Hulu like a year ago with my wife.
Yeah, no, I mean because of the Hulu Disney Plus merger, like they're starting to bring some Hulu stuff over to the Disney Plus, and that and Chainsaw Man were two of them.
Wait, Disney has Chainsaw Man? What the fuck? Why would they?
Because Hulu had Chainsaw Man.
Oh, I thought you said Disney. I'm like,
No,
okay,
it's on Disney
Disney.
Plus now too.
It is on Disney Plus now, but it's because Hulu had it. Just like I think Disney might have, not My Hero Bleach. They might have.
Speaking of Chainsaw Man, I think this is really cool. In one of the newest Deadpool comics, they reference Chainsaw Man, uh, specifically Cone and the little symbol, and then Wade is like, "Have you read or watched Chainsaw Man?" Nah, it doesn't seem you like it. So Chainsaw Man joins MHA with Deadpool meeting All Might and referencing Chainsaw Man, which I think is cool.
Deadpool just does it all, man.
I love Deadpool.
I need him to cut someone in half and just call it the Gojo procedure or some shit.
That was my Jutsu Kaisen.
This is truly our sorcery fight.
This is a crazy ass chapter, man. I can't remember the last time I was like absolutely speechless after reading one of these.
The main thing that I want at this point is I want Shigaraki to upend him a little bit, assert himself as like because Shigaraki becoming a villain was intentional and it was what AFO wanted or whatever. But the way I look at him is that, and don't get me wrong, AFO, because when we talk about Shigaraki and how nobody forced him to not pay attention to him, that is objectively true.
Yes.
But I also think that it would have been like that comic with Thanos where he was like picking on one person every year on their
Oh,
birthday or
the
something.
woman.
Yeah.
Generational
Or
hater right there.
or he would have fawned him where he would have like actually I think it would have been more like fawning. He would have gone out of his way to like sabotage and destroy every bit of peace that he like derived. So in a way, like it almost doesn't matter But that's always been the case, right? Like if AFO decided he wanted Shigaraki, then he was going to get him, and it would have
Mhm.
never mattered what anyone else did. So from that perspective, you could look at NBA as like, well, like because everybody's like, oh, well, how did he find him on the streets? That's like too random. And it's like, yeah, like he was obviously looking for him at that point. So it's kind of like I think Shigaraki has more agency because he didn't have to go and kill those people. He was told he was allowed to do it, and he did it. And like, yes, AFO wanted him to do that, but ultimately, at any point, Shigaraki could have decided to, you know, start a pro League of Legends team or anything else he wanted to do, and he could have done something different. He wanted, like,
Mhm.
he decided he was going to do that, and it's okay for him to like have been manipulated and groomed, but we have to also acknowledge that at this point in the story, he's like 21 years old. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
had some time, and he's had time away from AFO to think for himself, and we even
Mhm.
see that like his goal was to surpass AFO, and despite AFO's perspectives, Shigaraki still had his own genuine motivations for doing
Mhm.
some of the stuff he was doing. So he needs to like kind of recenter himself, and I think the downside to what has happened to the league is that as a wholesale, the League of Villains is like the most tragic group in the story. And I guess if we're being honest with ourselves, we should have known that they were all going to be tragic in the end because of the USJ incident where they're like, oh, it's a good thing we failed into that cheap League of Villains thing. But Shigaraki and them stayed the League of Villains, always seen as something expendable to All for One, like a group of people that he never cared if they succeeded, lived, died. Like Compress got off lucky, and Compress getting off lucky is him missing multiple organs and possibly not being able to walk again, etc.
The thief ends up in jail, whereas like the killers die.
Spinner's brain dead. Like every single person has
Yeah.
lost themselves or died, or like there's no person who was a League of Villains member whose life is okay now. Like Shigaraki, all of them ruined. And so they are kind of like the biggest victims of the story. So from that perspective, it doesn't really change who Shigaraki is as far as he's always been this tragic, like, villain who was trying to do stuff for his own people and was just misguided. This just emphasizes how far that misguiding like is and where it like started from, and the fact that his like dad got affirmations from All for One just goes to show just how much
Mhm.
influence that All for One, yeah, like All for One had a bunch of influence in his life, but I've cut off people in my 20s, like in my when I was like 20, there was people who I would like stop talking to just because they weren't worth the energy and they were making my life worse.
Yeah.
So there's like I it is tragic that he was groomed, but we have to acknowledge like he does have his own agency, his own choices, because while no, he wasn't going to be able to go become a cashier at 7-Eleven, he could have dyed his hair, stopped wearing it like a hand on his face, and changed his life. Because people didn't actually know what he looked like for the most part. They had like an idea because of his encounter in the mall. That was it. So there's just levels to it of where Shigaraki decided he was bitter. He understood that he and like the thing is like the stuff that he was mad about to this day, he would have every right to be mad about because even if you take out any of the superhero shit, if let's say you're a kid and you just forget you like mess with the stove or something like that, and it leads to like the gas being on and you guys had left and you came back in, somebody flipped the light switch and the house blows up, but you had happened to turn around and like go grab a leash or something that was out on the porch to take the dog for a walk, so everybody gets splattered and your dog lands on top of you, and then you end up homeless because your house blew up from the gas line or whatever, and nobody interacts with you, you still get to be pissed. Like, that would still be a reasonable thing to be very, very angry about because you would have still been neglected, abandoned. Society would have ignored you. Also, I accidentally missed Mr. Andrew's super chat. Sup, guys? Night one of Mania was hella fun and we were loud. Don't listen to the fools. Check your DM for my sign going into night two. The important part is whether or not that sign will be on screen. Sorry, I don't know what. I'm sorry. But yeah.
I fear for Andrew's sanity if Cody loses. He was not happy last time.
Oh my god, I remember that. He was not a very happy camper.
Same with Hawkins. They're Cody fans. I fear for what might happen.
All right, now you just got to make sure you get this on screen somehow. You have to get your sign on screen, Andrew, so that it can be broadcast far and wide, and people will go, "What does that even mean?" It's up to you to get it done. To have the greatest moment the church has ever had. A random sign on WrestleMania.
Damn, Andrew, this sign's going in on Thomas. What the fuck?
Huh?
Calling him a deadbeat?
That's
I
oh my
can't
god, not
believe
this
this shit.
again. But I have a question for y'all. Because I was thinking about this when I left and I came back. Um, we all know, obviously, because of the muzzle that he put on himself, Tenko is going to come back. Um, how do y'all envision Tenko coming back, and how would you feel satisfied? Like, what do you picture as the perfect way for
I've already
this to
said
occur?
I don't see Shigaraki coming back and wrecking shit. I just see him as more he's gonna stop All for One in his own body, and that's how he's gonna die. Is like kind of heroic, kind of not, kind of tragic. Because I don't know, I can't personally see him coming back and doing another 20 chapters of fighting and talking with Deku. I can't see it personally.
Well, I mean, remember what he said last chapter? It's like he has to be a hero for the villains. So I'm wondering if he martyrs himself when he comes back.
Something, because I don't know. I just can't see Shigaraki being back for long. That's the problem. Is like we're so close to the end and All for One coming back. It's like All for One can't just be killed in one chapter because it's like that's too short. Because then there'd be no point in this otherwise just to give Shigaraki background. So it's like All for One has to be here for a while, and then it's like you can't drag out the fight for too long and then have Shigaraki come back and start it again. So it's like I just don't see Shigaraki coming back.
Because what are we gonna do? Are we gonna have what Anarchy mentioned, where Deku gets pulled out of the battle, they get healed off screen, and then you have obviously the three on the
I think
field fight
Overhaul's coming in, man.
Shigaraki, and then Deku gets brought back, and then Shigaraki emerges, martyrs himself. I don't know. It would also come down to the fact how does Deku
Yeah, like I've been thinking
end the
for a
fight?
I've been thinking for a long time. Like we still call him Shigaraki, but I believe that persona is dead because I mean, All for One crafted it with the intent that it would be Tenko's new purpose. It would be a way to justify what happened to the family. Knowing that was all a lie, and I've been thinking this for years now. The final boss will be Tenko.
Oh, yeah, I have been saying Shigaraki more out of habit.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, me too.
Especially after we got the Midoriya scene, which is funny because I like when Offman was talking about the super ego and the id, I remember somebody did a thread on the ego, super ego, and id for Shigaraki, Tenko, and AFO.
Oh my God, I
So,
remember that.
but I can't remember for the life of me what all like they were trying to say. But it even here, I think he refers to Shigaraki as a super ego. Um, but with Tenko, ever since the Star and Strike fight, even if Shigaraki said, "Oh, that little boy doesn't exist," blah blah blah, the way I look at it, especially now, is that Shigaraki had been somewhat erased when AFO tried to take over the body, and little Tenko was in there and basically refueled that Shigaraki to exist again.
Mhm.
But this will be Tenko moving solely for his friends, because like when Muriel called him friendless, it wasn't even the Shigaraki persona that took over, it was the Tenko persona. So throughout the entire throughout the third act, we've been having these hints at Tenko coming into play, Tenko coming into play, Tenko doing small things, saying certain things. Um, Even when Tenko was interacting with, like, the thing that weakened Shigaraki was Tenko interacting with Deku, and Deku sacrificing his arms to like try to help him.
Mhm.
Because he could have grabbed his wrist if he had been thinking about it, but he wasn't thinking about that. He was thinking about stopping the tragedy, not preserving himself in any way. And the whole nobody reaching their hand out, well, here he's effectively extended both hands and lost them for you. It's a lot harder to maintain that feeling, which is why the Shigaraki persona describes himself as becoming hollow. Because
Mhm.
he knows that, like, now I've been handed something that directly contradicts my convictions, and I can't ignore this evidence, because I think he was aware that the loss of the arms in the vestige realm would impact the real world Deku as well. So yeah, I think Tenko takes over. But I think for Tenko, like, yes, he's trying to be a hero to those villains, but for him, it'll be more like playing a villain. Because at the end of the day, he'll still want to be a hero. So he might put on a show, he might do some damage, but I think Tenko will deliberately not kill people. So he will be prepared for that, because I think Tenko's deliberately not going to kill people, but he needs to put on a big enough show for the villains that they feel seen, and that it motivates people to actually make changes,
Mhm.
because that's ultimately what his goal is going to be, is to make sure that people like AFO have a way harder time getting their hands on children and shaping them, and making sure that society doesn't do what they did to people like Jin Bugawara, where they just like throw them out on the street and don't value them because of a misunderstanding, or parents aren't over pressuring their kids, like all those things that make kids grow into cynical adults and causes them to snap. He's going to try to fight to get us to a point where that isn't the case. So I'm here for it.
I Smoked That Fire said, All For One said Shigaraki's quirk originally had regeneration, right? I assume he didn't say that for no reason.
Yeah,
He
it
said
was
it just
overhauls.
to, yeah, he said it just to describe the fact that he distilled it and he kind of took it apart to take away the regeneration. Um, and I'm pretty sure Volk mentioned this, where people are saying that Tenko will awaken that regeneration aspect. Maybe.
I just don't believe that. I think the reason why this is being brought up is purely for the fact that Overhaul's gonna come in and we're gonna get more explanation into the child shit.
I also think
Good.
it'd be interesting more because obviously we got more like explanation in kind of the flashback with All For One with his mom and the rats. But I also think that it for Overhaul's character, I would love him to show up. I learn more.
I think Overhaul coming in is literally, I've always said this. I think Deku still hasn't redeemed a bad villain yet. Besides, obviously Shigaraki won't get redeemed, but he'll understand them. But I've always said Gentle doesn't really count because Gentle's always been a good person. He literally wanted to be here and tried to be. The other three, being his main three, were Muscular, Stain, Overhaul. Muscular was never getting redeemed. Stain was always going to stick to his ideology. And Overhaul, to me, always seemed like the one who would break most from it and would at least try to be reasonable with Deku. And to me, having Overhaul come here and just stop being a villain and just be with his pops would kind of go with the fact that Deku did change a villain who was hardcore a villain at one point. And I think Overhaul, in general, he's changed and influenced a lot of how we view the story. The rats, the quirk bullets, Eri, and in general, with the hospital now coming in play with Shigaraki, I think him coming back and just changes a lot more, and it kind of would be more beneficial to have him come back, especially if he comes back to fix Deku's arms instead of it being Eri.
I know that a while ago we had kind of more insight on Overhaul and his quirk, and I know that there was kind of a bad translation where it was like people thought that like the quirk was awakened where he could use it through his face, and I'm trying to find that like tidbit.
Yeah,
it
because
was
that's
released-
another thing. Like, why would you tell us like Overhaul's feet now work with his quirk
But I think that was
if
a
it
bad
wasn't gonna happen,
translation.
you know?
Yeah,
That's
from what I
that's
remember,
why.
that was a mistranslation that somebody
Yeah.
said.
But I want to figure out like the actual like Japanese interview or something like that, just to figure out like if Overhaul comes back, can he? Because we haven't seen an example of a quirk. And like I would mention Bakugo, but that doesn't really count, where the quirk factor kind of
Evolves.
evolved to the point where it moved places. Because it's kind of like, sure, you got rid of the hands and effectively killed the quirk factor. Because that's how Overhaul used his quirk. But
And
like
if it isn't that, I'd argue we're gonna get it. Eri rewound him off screen, and that's why her energy was so low. And I can't say this can't be possible because we found out Mirio came back with his quirk. So Mirio came with the quirk already ready, and then we got a flashback to she rewound him. I can see the same thing happening with
I mean,
Overhaul.
there's two situations with that. Number one, it elongates the series, gives us an extra chapter, which I'm happy with. But also, it'd be very interesting to see, like how Eri approaches.
Because that's another thing. I think that's too big of a thing to not experience on screen is Eri's reaction to
Yes.
Overhaul, and then
Yeah.
Deku's promise to Overhaul and bring him
Exactly.
to his pops.
I was about to say that
So
too.
that's why Overhaul needs to lock
right.
the fuck in and fight Shigaraki. Like,
Yeah, I
There's a
agree.
lot with Overhaul right now I think needs to happen.
And this
Mhm.
just so happens to be the perfect place for it.
Let me see here. Eri already tried heat. I'm pretty sure what Kyrie's saying is like because Eri's like energy isn't exactly there. Perhaps she already used it, which yeah, you're right. She tried healing Aizawa and it just didn't work. But I also think that could be just answered through like she just
I
didn't have
think
the
from a
energy at that time.
timeline
Then she
perspective,
regathered
yeah.
her energy and then she used that on Chisaki and then she came back trying to help everyone during this war.
Yeah.
And then she just didn't have it. I feel like you could
Yeah.
explain it that way. I don't agree. I personally think that, like what Aniki said, she just hasn't been in the situation where she could feel regret slash stress. But now she is in this situation where all that stress, all that fear of not being there to help Deku, to help everyone injured in this war, could give her access to more energy. But I feel like
I
we
think
have
from
too little. It'd be like on terms of the timeline
Yeah.
of this war, I feel like it kind of feasibly impossible for her to gather that much energy in that little time.
I think for a timeline, if I was going with like that didn't happen, what you're saying is like the timeline for me was she rewound Mirio and that drained her completely. And then Aizawa was injured after the war, so she would still be like depleted of energy completely. And then we have the whole spree of Deku going on the vigilante thing. And her thing is slowly building up. And when Deku captures Overhaul is when she has enough to rewind him. And then it goes into now she doesn't have enough to rewind Aizawa.
Mm-hmm.
Because Aizawa would be top of the priority, but if she had none after Mirio, then Overhaul would come first if we're doing this.
Eri never really gets used in the sense most people expect, so I'm not expecting him to be used. That's fair. I agree. I don't know if like how I feel about Eri kind of being tossed out into the battlefield
Exactly.
as a parcel, like someone to be like, oh, she's a healer now. No, she's a child. And I
Yeah.
don't know if I feel
I
that way
also don't see
unless
Aizawa doing that.
Anaki's idea of Deku being moved out of the battlefield to Eri.
Yes, that would
Um,
work then. But I don't
yeah.
see Eri ever coming to the battlefield. Aizawa would literally not allow that.
But I also take that Deku situation, him losing his arms, the fact that he's bleeding out, that's traumatic. And I don't know how I'd feel if
About
Hori
a-
just
yeah.
had Eri see Deku in that situation. Because Deku is her hero alongside Miro. This is someone she idolizes, kind of like a sibling to her. So there's a lot difference between that and Mirio going to her and asking, "Hey, can you help me get my quirk back?" That's why Aizawa tackled Ares kind of like, I can't heal you. Like, I feel kind of useless. He treated the situation like he should have. She's a child. That's why he
Yeah.
was like, I was just hit by a truck. Look at me. I'm okay now. Look at me. So I don't know. It would have to. I feel like better off using Chisaki or
I
having
agree.
kind of another way. Because at this point, I would have rather Deku have Black Whip still and use a Black Whip arm, kind of like Endeavor with the flame arm.
Yeah, that would have been sick.
Go full Sarah's Victoria.
Yeah, quite literally. But I
Right.
also think that Zero needs to use the tape on Deku's arms because he is going to bleed out and die.
So I actually need to head out now, but so my final
Mhm.
thoughts, just like I said, like I was kind of dreading this type of reveal, but it was done in a way that actually made me not hate it. Just the way it was tied to Overhaul, which was not something I ever expected. So I'm can't wait to find out to finally find out what Mike and Aizawa and Kurakumo were getting up to, because it's been like over a year since, like, this is the first Aizawa's appearance in over a year, if I remember right. So yep, I like this chapter, and can't wait to find out what happens next week. So see you guys around. All right.
Also, Joseph, before you go,
Mm-hmm.
I just read the Mama Yu Yu chapter.
Yeah.
Ass.
Told you.
Is it really that bad?
It's a non-ending. It's
Oh,
Bro could have just add another page, say they finish this fight, be done with this shit. Don't give us that like you're ever gonna get to revisit this. You're not.
yeah, no, it's okay. No, do you remember the short-lived series Super Smartphone?
I didn't read that one.
Okay, I did, because I actually did kind of enjoy it, but it was like the last chapter resolved nothing, raised more questions, and was basically an advertisement for the actual conclusion in the volume.
mhm. Actually,
Wait.
Joseph, you're right. Chapter 380 came out February 20th, 2023. So yeah, it really has been over a year. Holy shit. I didn't even really think about that.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna head out now. Like the stream, everyone.
Yeah,
All right,
stay
Chief. Have a
safe.
good day, Joseph.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.
I was gonna say we should trend towards wrapping up.
Yeah, we're kind of at the end of every combo.
Oh, wait, I
Yeah.
have a question for you, Anaki.
What's up?
How do you feel about, I didn't really hear much about at the beginning of the stream. How do you feel about Shoji getting top being number 12 not 12, number 10?
Number 10.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'm a Shoji enjoyer, so I can
Mm,
appreciate him being appreciated. You need some more? Yeah, okay.
I agree. I'm the
I'm
same.
gonna
I
teach
really
him
like
how to
Toji.
block blocks.
Did I say Toji? Shoji.
Hey, at least we can agree Dobby is the best villain of the group. Number 4, baby.
Which I think is crazy.
None of the
Well,
league can get Dobby's rankings.
Wasn't Shigaraki 16th?
Yeah,
It was either 17 or
16.
16.
Number 4, baby.
Yeah.
it's interesting how different league members have been top 10 at different points of the story.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yes. Which I think Shigaraki isn't in the top 10 because Dabi said F you to overhaul or not overhauls, All For One's plans
Mm-hmm.
a lot harder than Shigaraki managed to.
I mean, Dabi's had the anime. He had a really strong conclusion to the manga. In fact, we're gonna have to go back to him and see what exactly is happening to him because I'm gonna call bull if we cut to him in like a hospital room somehow still alive. But anyway, I gotta head out now. I got some things to prepare for tomorrow. So
Yeah.
Do your wrap up, man.
yeah, a phenomenal chapter. Like I was just absolutely stunned, absolutely floored. Like some of it I'd guessed, but just the full extent of it, seeing it play out. I'm not exactly sure who is final boss per se. Is it AFO? Is it Tanko? I would like it to be Tanko, but I think you can do a nice wrap up with AFO as well. The real question though, like the real obstacle is Shigaraki, because it's like still the question is like what is he going to choose in the end? Like if his whole life he's been making choices, even if not entirely accurate. If he has been under the influence of AFO, what is he going to do that is entirely free from his influence without that persona shackling him? I want to see that answer. This was just a bombshell chapter. Great, great delivery of the reveals, great art. I'm super excited to see what Aizawa's been up to. You see the tear tracks on his eyes. Something very deep has just moved him. Here's to 43 volumes, hopefully, and my boy Deku is looking rough for him, but he's gonna pull through. I have faith. He always manages. Uh, thank you guys so much for having me. Looking forward to talking next week.
Of
See you later.
course.
See you later.
See you, dude.
See you,
Bye.
Chief.
Good luck with tomorrow.
Thank you.
Coyote, your turn.
All right, sick. So I read this Wednesday. Initially, I hated a lot of this shit, as I always do with everything I read. I hate it at the start, or either like it at the start and then become indifferent a couple days later. Because at the end of the day, even if I hate something, I don't really give a fuck. I like the series, and that's a lot of intricacies in My Hero, JJK, and a lot of stuff. I don't really give a fuck. I'm just here to enjoy the ride. So when Shigaraki has decay, sure, I don't like it, but I still like the series, so it doesn't mean anything to me. And I do think a lot of this chapter is generally great in certain elements. I do like the Deku armless. I do like a lot of the intricacies in this, because if I look at it from another angle, if All For One really met from, cool. I don't mind it, and I still don't mind it, even if I didn't. Let's see. I do think Overhaul is coming. I think that's the best option for the story because personally, I don't want Aerie to come, and if she does come, I won't get that bad. I don't really care if she comes. It's just something I would prefer is Overhaul coming to flesh out the story more and for his character. And then for Deku, I don't think he's quirkless, and I don't think Deku is out of the fight. And Shigaraki, as it stands for him, I don't think he is going to be that big of a player for the next 5, let's say, chapters. I think he's just going to be in the background for now. And when he does come back, I don't think he's going to be here for that long, per se, which is a shame. Because we all like Shigaraki here. But yeah, man, that's what I'm really generally feeling. Go on, Thomas.
Okay, so I said before, I'll say again, I felt pain when I was spoiled immediately before I went to sleep on Deku's arms being taken away from him. I was expecting Deku to lose an arm, but losing both like that hurts. However, I disagree with people who are saying, "Oh, he's not going to do anything after." Deku has been breaking his bones again. tearing skin. He has fought until he passed out plenty of times. So saying Deku is going to give up here and give in to the pain, no, that's not what Deku will or could do. Obviously, I think the Weekly Shonen Jump cover with Shigaraki with the hand muzzle and Deku with the arms was a clear indication of him getting his arms back. It's just how Deku gets his arm back is the real question. I do think, like Coyote, Overhaul will come back. I just want a satisfying conclusion to Overhaul's character that isn't just I show up, Eri forgives, forgive and forget. I don't want that. I do think Hori would have to handle it like very delicately, and he would. This is Hori we're talking about. A few times he kind of shortens the moments, but I don't think they're for the worst. I love seeing Sato is it Ojiro? Yeah,
Sato,
Ojiro.
Ojiro, and Sero.
Yeah, and Sero show up because I love all of these characters. Not so much Sato. I do think he's still the bum of the class, but he has a cool quirk. And I've always liked Sero. I think Sero is a really underrated side character. His team up with Deku and Uraraka during the provisional license exam was really cool, and seeing him come to his rescue and say, "You need a hand," essentially, which. Yeah, I don't like those memes, but it is what it is. It's cool. I'm excited to see more with Eraser because I think like we're essentially done with all the battlefields now. Because like Ghastly won't be shown, and we're most likely going to see a single panel or two of that because Aizawa will pop out, be yo, come with me, we're going to help Midoriya. And then obviously we're going to see what happens with Aizawa, so we'll be done that, and then we can focus solely on the beachside battlefield. I'm just really excited to see. We also don't have a break, presumably. So that's
Yes, sir.
Thank God he didn't end this on a cliffhanger. I would have freaked. But overall, fantastic chapter. Also, if you guys are wanting to stay spoiler free, stay off Twitter because after this chapter, we know that people are just going to spoil left, right,
Yeah,
center.
next chapter is going to be a big one.
Yeah, so
So
please do not take the chance because a lot of
those
people
that
manage to
don't
slip
know,
by.
they usually come late Tuesday at night or beginning of Wednesday.
Yes, but they came a lot later for MHA, and we had it's spoiled for people before the regular leakers. So try to keep mindful of that and update your spoiler or the mute like words option that Twitter gives you.
Yeah.
Because Kaiser Kaiser got spoiled and he was like, I should have put arms in it. But overall, fantastic chapter. Like the stream if you had drink water, eat some food,
Yes,
and
sir.
have a great week.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, everybody that came through. I appreciate you guys. I enjoyed this chapter, despite it going against what I initially thought could be good for the series. So that does give me some hope for the direction that we're going. I'm gonna end this meeting so that I can take care of this little princess fussy butt. Princess fussy butt, princess fussy butt, fussy butt, fussy butt, princess fuss.
Ours, bro.
You like that, Princess Fussy Butt? So yeah, but I thank you all. Princess Fussy Butt says goodbye. Yep, see, look at that. It's totally not me flopping her hand so that it waves at you. You guys have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, peace.
Seth, Coyote, and East, everybody who came through, we appreciate
Yeah, man.
you. And we are, hold on, you're moving. As I'm trying to close the meeting. No, wait.
Go raise your child, Thomas.
Wow.
No, all right.